What's going on, everybody? Welcome to TPUSA Live. I'm one of your hosts, Jon Root. Sitting next to him,
Isabel Brown. It is a beautiful Wednesday here in Phoenix, Arizona at TPUSA HQ, and we are here to give you the rundown on what to expect with TPUSA Live today.
Also, we're going to talk about some music festivals, not just America Fest, but a music festival that reversed course on COVID.
I know. I think there's a lot of pressure happening nationwide, and a lot of that has to do with our boy, Jack Posobiec's new trending hashtag, Freedom Flu. I feel afflicted by the Freedom Flu. Got some symptoms over here. Just wanted to let you know, John.
Yeah, those symptoms are actually very, very good for our country and for you individually. He goes over hashtag Freedom Flu, which was #1 trending this last weekend on Twitter. He talks about the work-life reset and also religion when it comes to Freedom Flu.
Jack's going to be diving into all kinds of stories today on Human Events Daily, including the chairman of the Federal Reserve having upwards of $11.6 million invested with BlackRock, which is a firm that manages the corporate bond bailout program for the Fed. That's a lot of big words. If you don't necessarily follow what I'm saying, this is a bombshell story from our federal government and definitely something you're going to want to tune into today.
Jack always has some amazing stories and some great sources and connections behind these two, so you know you're getting the facts, you're getting the truth. And he's also going to touch on Loudoun County father was arrested at a woke school board meeting for revealing his daughter was raped by a skirt-wearing male student who was arrested for assaulting a second girl.
I have no idea, John, how this story is not bigger right now in media. We're hearing very little about this, but quite literally, a biological male wearing a skirt walks into a public school restroom of a child and rapes a biological girl, and now it's the dad of the girl that's being arrested and punished for this. Crazy land. I don't even understand how we got here in American society today.
But it doesn't fit their narrative.
No,
of course,
it
you have parents pushing back at school board meetings and they're seen as domestic terrorists and all that garbage.
Ridiculous.
But Jack will break that down, all that for you on Human Events Daily. Right after that, we're sitting on the couch with some incredible guests. Like we got TPUSA Ambassador Alison Furno, we got TPUSA contributor and host of Freedom Papers, Morgan Zegers is going to be back. Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs is coming on the show for the first time.
And I love Congressman Biggs.
And then finally, we have a canceled Louisiana public school teacher, Jonathan Koeppel. He's going to be sharing his incredible story, pushing back on some divisive, radical gender theory that's being pushed in schools out there.
You guys are going to have some good conversations
today.
Not only are you covering Jonathan's story, but also Professor Watchlist, our latest additions to who the craziest people teaching the next generation of Americans are, and What in the World Wednesday, and even more.
Right after that, we got some weekly shows. We got On the Frontlines with you. You're going to be talking about the chapter president from the University of Florida, and they actually got shut down for a little while.
Not just Turning Point USA at the University of Florida, but actually every conservative club was banned from campus this last semester because they quote unquote failed to follow COVID guidelines. It's wrong. They actually were following the guidelines. It's a crazy story and one of clear-cut political discrimination. So we'll be talking with Carter, their chapter president, today.
I can't wait for that. Right after, you got Smash with MAGA Hulk, Stephen Days.
Oh, my favorite.
He's so good too. I would never want to mess with Stephen. And I don't think the left wants to mess with Stephen because he's talking about, and he's going to dissect how the left is tearing down Americans through fear.
Yep.
That's what they've been doing the entire pandemic, this entire last few years. You had these COVID death counts, everything, they're ruling by fear, and he's going to dissect that.
Something not to be afraid of. Today's show will wrap up with Alex Clark in the newest episode of Politics. She's talking about body image and Megan Fox, the latest cringy situation with our vice president with this space video, where yes, the children, it turns out, were paid actors, and I'm not even joking.
Everything's fake.
This comes out today. This video was produced by a company by the literal name of Sinking Ship Entertainment. You can't make this stuff up anymore, people. So definitely stay tuned for that with Alex.
She's also talking about what reality star is married into President Biden's family and so much more. But it's such an important conversation talking about body image. I was looking over the script that she's putting together for that, and it's going to be so great.
So great. So excited.
We have to talk about Coachella. So Coachella is coming back. It's one of my favorite music festivals, and they're saying you no longer have to be vaccinated to go to Coachella. That's happening in April. Cheers to that.
Enough blowback, I think, from the American people saying, you know, I don't think I want to go to an event where I have to be vaccinated anymore. So now they're either accepting proof of vaccination or proof of a negative COVID test within 72 hours of arrival. I don't know why, John, but something really doesn't surprise me about you being a Coachella dude. Like, I could just totally see you in festival mode. Really quick, drop in the comments what you think John would wear to Coachella, because I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, it's just a lot of cultural appropriation for me at those festivals. No, but I love country. I know I look like a surfer Cali boy, but I love my country. And then also, a place that you don't have to worry about vaccination status or COVID tests, America Fest. So make sure you get tickets for that. That is tpusa.com/amfest. We got a great show for you today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily. First story up today, the White House responds to HE Daily. Jen Psaki spreading freedom flu denialism. She's got a bad case of it. We'll talk about it. Next, freedom flu, the work-life reset. We're going to talk a little bit more about what's driving these labor shortages. Then, the freedom flu when it comes to religion. And finally, a Loudoun County father has exposed a horrific cover-up of a sexual assault that took place in the schools there. All of this and more ahead. Human Events Daily. So yesterday, we dedicated the entire show to the freedom flu. We went through 4 segments of it. We covered air, we covered supply chains, we covered the sea, and we covered how it's affecting Joe Biden in his White House. And then something absolutely wonderful happened. My favorite person in the White House decided to respond to this hit #1 podcast. Listen to what Jen Psaki had to say.
I know there was a little hubbub over the course of the last few days about Southwest Airlines. We now know that some of those claims were absolutely false, and actually the issues were completely unrelated to vaccine mandates. But again, what we've seen business to business across the country is this is the way to save lives, create more certainty. It's good for the economy, and it's something we're looking forward to implementing.
It's all just a bunch of hubbub. There's no real freedom flu. You guys don't need to worry about that. That's a bunch of smoke and mirrors. There isn't anything actually happening. People aren't saying that they don't want to come to work because of the vaccine. People aren't saying that they're burnt out. People aren't taking leave and taking sick time on this. Jen, we've talked to them. We've talked to the employees. I've talked to the employees. And it ain't just Southwest, by the way. You've got air traffic controllers, you've got other airlines, you've got people at Amtrak. You've also got people saying that they're going to start doing work-to-rule slowdowns. What's a work-to-rule slowdown? That's when you implement the strictest interpretation of FAA guidelines that will slow down and gum up the works the same way that anybody knows you can. They say, well, you know, example, glass breaks on the floor. Oops, oh boy. Got to call maintenance to come in and fix that up. Yep, gonna have to get that carpet changed. Well, there's glass particles on it. Yep, gonna have to delay the flight. Gonna have to delay the flight. You know, we got glass on the ground here. So you see, there's so many ways that they can do this without conducting. Now, if they were to conduct an actual walkout, an actual strike, that's called, and as we said all along, that would be an illegal job action under the Railroad Workers Act, right? They are declared strategic workers. They can't just go ahead and do that. So obviously, there's not going to be a direct, a direct strike. But Jen, there's a sick out. The freedom flu is real, and it's spreading. You've got Kyrie Irving over in the NBA saying that he's now been benched. He can't play or practice for the Nets because he refuses to take the vaccine. He actually had a fantastic and very science-based response as to why, because he has natural immunity. Excuse me, sir, are you vaccinated? No, actually, I'm immuno, just like myself. Next up, I had a Southwest employee reach out to me. Guess what? They are going to be holding, let me check this, Monday, October 18th, 8:30 a.m. at Southwest Airlines headquarters. Let your voice be heard. Please join your Southwest cohorts, vaccinated or not, in exercising your First Amendment right to a peaceful protest of the recent COVID-19 vaccination mandate. So they're going to be holding this. It's at the Southwest headquarters. It's right there in Dallas. By the way, the same Dallas where the governor just stated that no entity, passed a law that no entity is allowed to push vaccine mandates. And so Southwest, of course, is headquartered in Texas. How are they going to play this? Who's going to blink first? And they don't want us to see, by the way, they don't want us to see, and I talked about this yesterday, the lawsuit that was filed by the Southwest Airline Pilots Association stating that they wanted a federal injunction against the vaccine mandate. Now, here's an interesting piece that on Good Morning America yesterday, the Southwest CEO came out and he stated, no employee will be fired over the vaccine mandate. This Gary Kelly put this out. CEO of Southwest Airlines stated that no employees will be fired over the company's vaccine mandate. However, the airline announced on October 4th that all 56,000 U.S. Southwest employees need to be vaccinated against COVID-19 by November 24th or face termination. We've also got the receipts on this. Here is the actual guidance internally released by Southwest stating, failure to comply with the COVID-19 vaccine policy will result in termination of employment. And Gary, I looked up the SEC filings. We know that you are leaving your post as CEO, you're stepping down in 4 months, and your bonus, what does it say in the filings, your 14A? We've got your 14A, Gary. Your bonus is tied to your handling of COVID. So you are looking for that golden parachute that says that you did everything you could and you did a great job with COVID, and any problems were related to something else because you've got a financial incentive. You've got skin in the game. Now you've got a conflict of interest on this. We got the receipts, Gary. We got the receipts. So show me. And I want my sources in Southwest to reach out to HE Daily, to reach out to me. Tell me if new guidance comes out that backs up what Gary said on Good Morning America, that no employee will be fired. We are standing up for workers and the freedom flu is spreading. The freedom flu is spreading and we want to keep it going. We also want to keep this podcast going. So go to mypillow.com, use promo code POSO, up to 66% off. Keep MyPillow going. Keep those American workers and those made in America products going. No vaccine mandate at MyPillow. And it's really great because you also have to look at the fact that we're getting very close to Christmas, and because of the labor shortage issue that's been caused in the logistics and the supply chain situation by Joe Biden and his mandates, you want to get your MyPillow orders in now when it comes to Christmas. Christmas is coming up a lot faster than I think people realize, and because of these slowdowns, you need to get the orders in now. Go to mypillow.com. You can get there's a deal on the sheets. You get 6 for 1. You get the sheets. You get the towels. You get the pillows. In fact, you also have the pillows that you can get for the kids. They have the biblical stories on them. They're absolutely fantastic. That's what we do for my son. He has a nativity one. We have a Noah's Ark one. He takes it to daycare. It's great. This is how you pass on your traditions. mypillow.com, promo code POSO. Now, listen to what's going on with the freedom flu, because it's more than just freedom from the mandates. We're also looking at people choosing freedom in other ways because they're changing their relationship to work. It's called the Great Resignation, and the new data is out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is actually crazy. 4 million workers resigned from their jobs last year. This is very interesting. Listen to what CNBC had to say about it.
Amazon announcing it'll be giving some of its workers more flexibility to work from home indefinitely. And CNBC partnered with Catalyst on a new survey just out today that explains why Amazon is doing this. And the results are a wake-up call for corporate America. More than half of employed American parents of school-age children and over 40% of all employed Americans say they are considering leaving their jobs. They cite their employers' lack of concern for their well-being. We also found a stark disconnect between what employees want and what their employers tell them that they need. About 3/4 of employed Americans say their employer believes that employees are just more innovative and work harder when they are in the office. But even more employed people say they would like their company to make work permanently flexible. And though there were consistent themes, we did find some striking differences between how men and women are reacting to the pandemic. Employed men are much more likely than employed women to say that they're considering leaving their job because their company or manager has not cared about their concerns during the pandemic. And men are more likely than women to say they intend to make changes in their career, such as asking for a raise or starting a company. So we'll have to see if more companies follow Amazon's lead and retreat from their office-centric work plans, John, in light of these pretty dramatic numbers showing.
So this is something I've been talking about for a long time. I used to call it escape the cube farms, get out of the cubicles. What do I mean by that? You are selling your time to somebody else, and you are never going to be financially stable selling your time to somebody else. 8 hours a day plus 2 hours commuting back and forth, right? For what? For a wage, right? You're paying off debt, you're going to be paying a wage. I think a lot of people took that year, last year, they're calling it the Great Resignation now. They stepped back when the lockdowns were on and they said, you know what? I like spending time with my family, or I like spending time with myself. I don't know if I want to get on that rat race wheel anymore. I don't know if I want to keep doing that sort of thing. And I, for one, I absolutely applaud that. I totally applaud the reimagination of work, people who are looking at freelancing in a new way. It's so much better, and it's being entrepreneurial. With the internet now, there's so, and by the way, I'm not talking about like, the gig work of, just being an Uber driver or DoorDash, et cetera, et cetera. Great things, by the way, excellent side hustles. You got some time, you wanna, rent it out, that's great. But be your own boss, have the ability to do that. That's a big part of freedom. So, I don't know if there's any Dave Ramsey fans out there, but I don't know if I'm supposed to promote somebody else's podcast on my podcast, but I'm gonna do that. I think it's great. I think that's a great way to get started in all of this, that if you're in debt, to get off of it. But then you can also take that to the next level and then figure out ways to use debt to leverage and use it to your advantage once you get to that point. This is a huge reason. Look, the Great Reset is happening because they do not want you to be financially literate. They want to keep interest rates negative so that you can't make any money, because they want you to be a renter class. They want you to be a renter class that is trapped in debt so that you continue working for the nameless, faceless corporations that go on and you're servicing your debt, and your entire life is based around service to your debt, right? That's what they want. That's what the system wants. That's what the Great Reset is all about. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Wall Street becomes your landlord. You don't have to live that way. You don't have to play that game. A big part of, we talk about get out of cities. Well, a big part of that is being your own boss, finding ways to achieve financial freedom. Financial freedom is the next leg of this. And conservatives, quite frankly, if you want to be pro-freedom, you have to teach financial freedom to the people, because they're not going to figure it out on their own. They're not going to be taught this in school. Imagine if we actually taught financial basics to every student in America. I think it would be incredible. I think it would be fantastic. That's the kind of country that I want to live in. Stay tuned. Coming back more. Freedom Flu, Events Daily. The Freedom Flu pandemic spreads and it continues. It's going coast to coast, folks, and it's probably going to end up going international as well. Now, religious exemptions are coming on board. Huge W's, absolutely huge W's in the religious exemption category came down yesterday. The big one, the very first one that came out, was for the military. And specifically, it flies in the face of what Joe Biden, who claims to be a Catholic, has said. Listen to what Joe Biden said about abortion as a Catholic.
Comment about what the Catholic bishops have done. Are you concerned about this rift within the Catholic Church, and are you concerned about this action?
Say again?
The Catholic bishops are moving on this resolution that would prevent you and others who've supported abortion from receiving communion. Are you concerned about the rift in the Catholic Church, and how do you feel personally about that?
That's a private matter, and I don't think that's going to happen. Thank you.
Well, here's the problem with that. The Archbishop for Military Affairs for the entire U.S. military has just come out and stated Catholic troops can refuse the COVID vaccine. No one should be forced to receive a COVID-19 vaccine if it would violate the sanctity of his or her conscience, Broglio wrote. This is the Archbishop for Catholic Affairs for the entire U.S. military. Now, people might be asking, and I understand, they say, well, hold on, Pope Francis is the Pope of all Catholics, and he said take the vaccine. Can this Archbishop just come up and countermand the Pope? Yes, as a matter of fact, he can, and I can explain this as a Catholic. When the Pope is speaking as with the official power of his role, that's called speaking ex cathedra. This is a very rare event. It means from the chair. That means he's speaking with the full power of his office. When he's just making a comment on some political issue or a social issue, that does not set the doctrine of the church. And as such, remember, the Pope is the Bishop of Rome. Other bishops can also give their opinions on these issues, and then councils are held, and there are very long, drawn-out processes for actually changing official doctrine of the church. This has not happened here when it comes to this specific vaccine, and the Archbishop pointed out that the vaccine comes from abortion-derived cells, the testing on those cells. This just played a role in a huge event up in Utica, New York. Listen to what happened in New York last week.
No way to cloud that. There's no gray area. I need to keep people in the state safe. And we'll be nation leading with our mandate, which strikes at midnight tonight when everyone is expected in a hospital in the state of New York or a healthcare facility to have been vaccinated. We are hit the first, we are hit the hardest, and I want to be the first to say we're over this. And so I'm calling on all the healthcare workers. First of all, those of you who've been vaccinated, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing what was right and helping lead the way so we do have the confidence we need. And to those who've not yet made that decision, please do the right thing. And to all the other healthcare workers who are vaccinated, they also deserve to know that the people they're working with will not get them sick. Today is a significant deadline. It reflects my priority to just stop this virus dead in its tracks. We are over it, we are done, we want to move on. And the only way we can do that is to ensure that everyone is vaccinated, but particularly individuals who are taking care of the people who are sick.
So the governor of New York, the new governor that nobody voted for, Kathy Hochul, has come out and said that she did not want, she was excluding religious exemptions. Federal judge just came down and said that he's ruling on the favor of 17 healthcare workers that are calling for a religious exemption to the vaccine mandate on the basis of the fetal cell lines, the abortion testing that was done on these products. This is why when Project Veritas released those Pfizer emails just last week, they didn't want that information getting out because they knew that it would lead to religious exemptions, direct religious exemptions. So understand what's going on here. You got the President of the United States, you got the Pope, and you've got Pfizer, all trying to cover up what's really going on here. They are trying to force pro-life Catholics and Christians and other believers who hold this as a supreme core tenet of their religious beliefs, and they're trying to force you to receive this. They can't do it. They can't do it under law. They are not able to. Religious protection, as written, go read the ruling by this judge, by the way. Religious protection comes under your First Amendment. So this is one of those stories where I would prefer not to have to report this, but we have to report this because it's what's going on in our country and it's important. The story was broken by Luke Rosiak of the Daily Wire. You remember in Loudoun County, Virginia, when the school board protests were going on and one of them got particularly heated, there was an individual, there was a father, who was demanding a chance to speak. He was forcibly arrested without being given a chance to speak. And the footage went viral. They tried to paint him as some crazy right-wing conspiracy theorist, bigot, et cetera, et cetera. It turns out that that father had a student, daughter, who was raped, sexually assaulted, by a boy who, we're told, wears a skirt sometimes and uses the girls' room. That incident happened, the school knew about it, and instead of doing anything, they covered it up. And they didn't file charges, they didn't even contact police. Go watch the footage of the father being arrested, trying to plead his case to the school board.
You are who you are, you cannot change that.
She's trying to disrupt things. She's trying to disrupt things. Let's continue on over here. Let's continue on.
And if that weren't bad enough, not only was the student in question not charged, they were transferred to another school. At that school, in October, they were arrested again for another incident of sexual assault. What is going on in Loudoun County? What is going on in our schools where we're going to allow this insanity to take place? He has been by now charged for the initial attack. Thank God. But the school board wouldn't even allow the father to speak. This is high school, by the way. These are teenagers, underage. My heart goes out to this father. My heart goes out to the family and, of course, to his daughter. I pray for them the same way I pray for this country, the same way I pray for my family. What are we doing to our kids? Why are we allowing this to go on? The state of Virginia, the parents of Virginia, the people of Virginia, you can't allow this to be going on. We can't allow this to be happening to our kids, to our children. In the name of what? Political correctness? No. This has to stop. I don't care what party you are. I don't care what your background is. This is child abuse and it's sexual assault, and it has to stop. And we need to start listening to these parents when they're telling us what's going on with their children. That's all the time we have today here at Human Events Daily. Remember our motto: be good, be brief, be gone. Share this out with your normie friends. Be the influence agent and leave us a review. It actually really helps. We want to get those reviews up. We're about to break 2,000. Please continue to give those reviews. But before we go, it's time for today's moment of history. Today, October 16th, is the 246th birthday of the United States Navy. Navy that I served in years ago, the same Navy that so many people out there have served in, the Navy that won the Pacific in World War II. Now, I know there's been some problems lately, I know, but that doesn't mean that we're gonna throw the whole institution under the bus. So bravo Zulu to my fellow sailors and to all the veterans out there. And by the way, also a very special happy birthday to my brother Kevin. It's his birthday. God bless you, I love you. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.
What if I told you that this has all happened before? The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
Well, folks, one place the freedom flu continues to spread. It's an epidemic. It's absolutely exploding. It's back at Turning Point's headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona, where we now go to. So we're signing off here at Washington, D.C. headquarters of the Turning Point Embassy and sending it back for Hour 2 as Turning Point Live continues. Stay tuned.
Well, hello and welcome to TPUSA HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm your host, Jon Root, and this is TPUSA Live. All right, let's take a look at the rundown. First, we'll give you an update on the Gabby Petito case and more in the daily briefing. Next, our special guest, Louisiana school teacher Jonathan Koeppel, will share his story of pushing back on radical gender theory, and we'll introduce you to our newest member of the Professor Watchlist. Then, What in the World Wednesday is back. We'll show you some of the most outrageous and insane content we found on the internet this week. Finally, we'll discuss the supply chain disaster and wrap up with a story about a brave high school girl who was arrested for not wearing a mask at school, and one last thing. All right, let's get this party started. TPUSA Live from HQ starts now.
Authentic, unfiltered, grassroots content and conversation every weekday. Live from Phoenix, Arizona at the Turning Point USA headquarters, this is TPUSA Live.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. This is the best time of the year in Phoenix, too. The weather's just perfect. I'm not the summer heat guy, so I'm feeling good. And this is going to be another great show of TPUSA Live. We have some incredible guests. First off, we got TPUSA ambassador and radio host on 960 The Patriot. We got Alison Furno. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And then host of Freedom Papers, TPUSA contributor. We got Morgan Zegers.
How goes it? If you don't watch Freedom Papers, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but you're not going to be helping save the country. Hello.
And then we got Congressman Andy Biggs here. Are you watching Freedom Papers?
He was on Freedom Papers. You got to watch episode 1.
That's right.
Because I know you've been on, but I'm like, I hope that you're watching the other episodes too.
Miss an episode.
No, we all need to learn from him, though. I mean, he's really.
But a little bit more information about Congressman Andy Biggs. I'm sure you know him, but he's a congressman representing Arizona's 5th District. He's part of the House Freedom Caucus. He's the chairman there and a Border Security Caucus co-chair. I got to make sure you get a great little intro.
Oh, that's sweet.
I mean,
very kind.
Chairman of the House Freedom Caucus is a big deal. Yeah.
You're just living the dream over here
right now.
Yeah.
I'm fine with admitting that.
We got to get you caught up on some of the stories of the day. First up, so Gabby Petito's autopsy came back, and going back to September 21st, they found the body of Gabby Petito in Wyoming, and they said the death was a homicide. So now, after Teton, Wyoming County Coroner Brett Blue, he announced yesterday that Gabby Petito's cause of death was strangulation. The coroner also confirmed during a press conference yesterday that Gabby Petito was not pregnant, and also she had been dead for about 3 to 4 weeks. And the reason it took so long was they were saying we had to get everything right. That's where his quotations. But now it's like, where's Brian Laundrie? That's the thing too. Like, we just saw Brian Laundrie's dad. He was out mowing his lawn. That's what I'm confused about too. It's like you got Doc the Bounty Hunter on the case. The FBI hasn't really been able to find anything. And this guy isn't Rambo in the wilderness. How are we not able to find this guy?
That's so crazy. Dog the Bounty Hunter needs to find him first. That's all I have to say.
I don't know. I mean, we still got allies and citizens behind Afghan lines, terrorist lines over there, and then we still can't find this Brian guy. We're really not doing well today.
Yeah, and honestly, if Dog the Bounty Hunter finds Brian Laundrie, I think the FBI needs to just call it quits.
Just get out of it. I agree.
Yeah, they've got some problems. I wonder, though, I mean, you're sitting so close to the Everglades. Here's a guy, if he escaped, I think somebody helped him, somebody close to him.
Yeah.
But I think really, it wouldn't surprise me if he went out and took his own life, and he's been eaten by an alligator in the Everglades.
Yeah.
Is that okay to say?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I mean, I'm not making a joke of it. Yeah, not making a joke of it necessarily, but I'm just saying that seems to me a pretty realistic possibility.
Yeah, I just hope that we find this guy because we need justice.
Yeah,
that's what we're looking for, justice for Gabby Petito. I hope that the Laundrie family is actually helping out like Brian Laundrie's father said he would. But we got a few stories from Southwest Airlines. You heard the news over the weekend that over 2,000 flights were canceled, affected some people here at TPUSA HQ and thousands of people across the country, but obviously we're on board that this is a good thing and that we don't want any mandates. So this is what was called over the loudspeaker at a counter for Southwest Airlines.
Attention in the terminal, Loudoun, dates. Loudoun dates. Please meet your party, Southwest ticket counter. Once again, Loudoun dates. Please meet your party, Southwest ticket counter.
So no mandates. I think it worked because literally Southwest CEO said he was against vaccine mandates and that he was blaming President Biden for what happened over the weekend. So this is what he had to say. The executive order for President Biden's mandates that all federal employees and then all federal contractors, which covers all the major airlines, have to have a mandated vaccine in place by December 8th. So we're working through that. I've never been in favor of corporations imposing that kind of mandate. Not in favor of that. Never have been. So I think it worked. I think that worked, Congressman.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, this is fascism, isn't it? I mean, this is what fascism looks like. And the hokum that it was all, weather related, that's just BS. I mean, we all know there are other airlines, and they didn't cancel flights. I mean, you had just a handful, but the weather was only affecting Southwest. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Well, that's the funny thing, too, is like you don't have journalists doing their job. Too. Like you have to hear that from conservative influencers to really know what the weather report was. It was clear skies. You have Spirit Airways, Frontier, like they only canceled 2% of their flights.
Yeah. But it's so good to burst the bubble of the propaganda, and that was one of the fastest turns around I've ever seen. It was sketchy as soon as I heard it.
Yeah. But now we got to talk about, coming up after this break in 90 seconds, we're going to give you the newest member of our Professor Watchlist. Also, we're going to introduce you to Jonathan Koeppel, Louisiana teacher that was fired for saying there's two genders. What a crazy thing to say, right? We'll see you soon.
Critical race theory is the most racist thing that is being spread in popular life in America.
Critical race theory is bigoted. It is a lie.
Racism is now being taught to our kids.
Dividing kids based on race, trying to say some are oppressors and some are oppressed is absolutely unacceptable.
CRT is racist, it is abusive, it discriminates against one's color.
It's not critical race, it's racism.
Conservatives! Politics is now on TPUSA Live. It'll be here every day in case you want to hear me out along with the rest of the Turning Point USA team. Don't miss out on all the conservative.
You have to ask the question, how is the most heavily funded tribe have the poorest population?
Listen to me. My country is very because everything problem here. Don't have petroleum for bus and Cuban, for car, for life, for nothing.
And it sucks. Socialism sucks. There's no other way you can describe it.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We have a brand new face on the couch, Jonathan Koeppel, TPUSA ambassador, also a canceled Louisiana school teacher.
Yeah,
Canceled.
I used to be a teacher.
But he has a very brave and courageous story. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. We also got Congressman Andy Biggs here, host of Freedom Papers. We got Morgan Zegers. So here is the newest member of our Professor Watchlist. Welcome, Dr. Carol Anderson. Carol Anderson is the Charles Howard Chandler Professor and Chair of African American Studies at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. Get this, ladies and gentlemen. She believes the Second Amendment is rooted in white supremacy and accused conservatives of trying to make America a whites-only nation again. So this is a photo of Dr. Carol Anderson. And actually, we just saw a photo of her. I missed it. I wouldn't mind seeing that face again. I'm so sorry.
Please be perfect.
Unbelievable.
But
oh, there you go.
There's her again. That is, yeah, that's kind of my face when I read some of this stuff too. It's like, oh, this is tough. Here's what's going on with the Second Amendment. This is what Dr. Anderson had to say. She's the author of the second, Race and Guns in a Fatally Unequal America. The book alleges that the true purpose of the Second Amendment is the denial of rights to African Americans. And she said, it's not about guns, it's about anti-blackness, and it was designed and has consistently been constructed to keep African Americans powerless and vulnerable. Congressman Biggs, please go off.
Well, I mean, there's so much to hassle that for, but let's just talk about today who is impacted most by restrictive gun laws. It is people of color, and, particularly black people in urban areas who can't get guns to defend themselves. Who needs guns to defend themselves? People who live in high crime areas. Where's high crime areas? Democrat-run urban areas who defund the police and put their citizens at risk. All of that is data-driven drivel. I mean, it's made up. Statistically, it's undermined everywhere you go.
Well, and then now she's given a platform too.
Yeah.
At a university, she's got another best-selling book. So she had this New York Times best-selling book. It was authored White Rage, The Unspoken Truth of Our Racial Divide. Dr. Anderson defined white rage as policymakers and a series of courts systemically undercut the advancement of African Americans. And this is her being critical of former President Donald Trump and his supporters. Let's check it out.
The latest polls have shown that what was driving his base was not all of this economic anxiety that pundits talked about, but was the increasing diversity of America. The fact that America was becoming more black and more brown. And so his white base said, we can't have that. We have got to somehow secure the power and the resources of the United States in our hands alone.
And I watched this whole interview too, and it's funny when you have an interview like this and you have journalists that just constantly aren't doing their job. There's no follow-up question that, hey, explain that. Who actually voted for President Donald Trump? Is it just white people? No, she wouldn't be able to explain that, but I know that's something you push back on.
So, I mean, but you think about what she said, what population of people has been going on the decline? Black people. Their population has not been increasing because of abortion rates. So for her to say that, she needs something to back that up. I would love to see more black people all over the place, but the truth is they're actually going down in population because of abortion. As far as like in the schools, you got a ton of professors just like that crazy lady. They are everywhere, especially in Louisiana at LSU. You got kids that are scared to death to speak in class. They don't want to speak, they don't want to show up, they just want to be quiet, they want to stay in the shadows, they don't want to be seen, they don't want no trouble, because as soon as they get found out by the liberal professor, their grades tank. It's nuts.
And that's why we need to expose.
Professors, so many roommates, friends that literally wrote their papers based on what they knew their professor would want to hear, not based on what they were thinking on the inside. I had a professor one time, they taught political research, $1,400 per credit for a 3-credit class. Insane when you start adding up the hours, the cost per hour to be indoctrinated. And my expert political research professor told me that people in the South vote more conservative and have conservative values because, and this is the only 2 reasons, because of race and because we are by the border, which means we have to be around immigrants, and we don't like those either. So race and immigration were the 2 reasons. And for me, it was one of my first times where my conservative values were challenged, and I didn't have the courage to stand up. I was a lone wolf on a campus that was 90% liberal, and so I didn't speak up. But on the inside, I was like, no, I believe in economic independence and supporting family business and all these things from upstate New York where I got my values. But that's why I'm such a firm believer in what Turning Point does, because I didn't have a group, and there's power in numbers. You get courage that can be contagious, and then you're more likely to speak out and have those conversations in classrooms when you know that you're going to have people there that have your back. But I also encourage people that are lone wolfers to not do what I did. I was a wimp, and I wish that I wasn't. A lot of those times I regret me being a wimp in college.
Well, it's tough. Well, that's why we got the strong people here on the couch and at TPUSA and like
we will
Congressman
inspire
Biggs.
the masses.
But this is why we expose professors like this, and we have the professor watch list, because you need to know the truth about these colleges and these universities, because the place where we hit them the most, their pocketbook. So if you went to that school or you are associated with that, stop donating. Stop donating as kind of indoctrination and giving a platform to people like this, because she even doubled down in a Time magazine article and said conservative patriots put the nation at risk so that President Trump could fulfill his dominant campaign promise, and that to be clear, it was not to make America great again, but to make access to America's resources white only again.
What does that mean?
So more minorities in the workforce, like that's more racist, right? More people of color working and having better jobs. Like all of that, definitely supports her argument, right? The facts, that supports her.
Yeah, and we're going to show a video of you pushing back on not only CRT, but pushing back on radical gender theory. And the first part of this video, you're not going to see, but I do want to cover right now in association with this professor here, is it's either you're oppressed or you're the oppressor. And you're telling young kids this, and this is in the curriculum, and it's something you push back on quite a bit.
So I haven't taught that because I was a Spanish teacher, but that is showing up in schools everywhere, in textbooks, in videos, teachers just taking their time wasting our tax dollars to indoctrinate kids. So it's showing up everywhere.
Yeah. Well, if you want some more information about this professor and other wacky professors around the country, you got to go to professorwatchlist.org. But we're going to show a video of Jonathan Koeppel here. Got fired from your job because you spoke up, and show off that shirt there.
It's just some facts.
There's only 2 genders. What a wild and crazy thing to say, Jonathan.
Male and female. Who would have thought? Ovaries and testicles. 2 different types.
Well, we're going to show you this video of what eventually led to Jonathan.
I'm always the only lady on the couch.
They're teaching incorrect grammar to give a kid whatever gender pronoun they want. Psychology tells you that when you're talking about sexuality with kids, their brains are not developed. You have to raise a child, you rear a child. They don't know about sexuality. When an adult pushes some kinky sexual ideas upon them, it winds up grooming them to believe whatever the adult tells them. So this is the video by Brain Pop that our kids are spending hours in front of. This is what they're telling them about the pronouns. And the ACT already gave the kids the opportunity to choose their own gender when they took the ACT. I got pictures of the forms.
Like meet Moby and Orbot. They are my best friends. Actually, yeah, they can be used as a singular pronoun too. Like if you said, I'm going to see my friend, I could ask, where do they live? Since I don't know your friend's gender identity. And some individuals prefer they as a pronoun.
So this happened at an April school board meeting. So what led up to this? Was there like basically 3 strikes and you finally cracked and said, hey, I need to show up to this, like this is enough?
It was like an accumulation of a lot of things. School is super liberal. It doesn't matter what part of America you're in. You could be in a conservative area. It doesn't matter. In education, you're going to find just everything's left-leaning. Everything. And it's the companies that create the software, like Brain Pop, everything, the curriculum writers, all of that's liberal. So I'm seeing that. That's already aggravating. I'm seeing the one-sidedness of school. I'm seeing the mask mandates. I'm aggravated because of that. I'm aggravated because just all kinds of stuff going on politically and specifically in the schools. I'm hearing kids in class talk about how these topics, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I will never refer to a kid that's a boy and call that boy a girl. So I'm thinking this and I'm like, okay, I've had enough. I saw a video of a program that we use in St. Tammany Parish, or used to use, some places still use it. Somebody in Virginia shared it. I said, I know Brain Pop. I've seen kids use it. I used to watch little kids use Brain Pop. And so I go look it up. I look for the most woke videos they have, and it's like on the front page of their website and on their Instagram page. And I said, oh, perfect. This is what I'm going to show the school board. I'm going to show all the parents. And let's get this party started and let them know it's going down in Louisiana just like it is in California and in Loudoun County up in Virginia. So that was it. I had enough.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we have people like you that are unafraid to lose their jobs too, because to a lot of people, you're radical, which is an insane place that we've gotten to now in our world, that there's only 2 genders. I mean, you're just speaking fact. If we're talking about like trust the science, God, there's 2 genders.
The stupidity of society today has no end.
Yeah.
It doesn't end.
But I'm kind of curious what you have to say about this whole education system problem. I mean, you might be a little radical when it comes to the Department of Education, right?
Right. So there's no constitutional authority for the feds to do anything with regard to education. There's nothing in the Constitution. So the feds need to get out, number 1. Number 2, the states need to take over. And that would allow the local jurisdiction. And the great thing about COVID is parents started waking up a little bit, right? And they see this thing. So if parents would get involved, they're going to say, there's nothing radical about 2 genders, but there certainly is something radical about CRT. There's something really radical about this multi-gender orientation that's going on, and the overall indoctrination. So get the federal government out and get the parents back in charge, unlike Terry McAuliffe in Virginia.
What's been some of the responses, though? Because I'm sure you're around a lot of liberal politicians that are just calling you crazy. They're calling you radical. But how do you stay true and basically hold the line? Because I think what you 2 are doing especially is making sure you're helping out the next generation to know the truth.
Well, I think what happens is you just have to have the confidence that you don't really care if your re-election is not why you're there. You're there to promulgate the principles that you got elected on, which is the foundational ideas of America, who we are. And you know what, I've gone toe-to-toe with Raskin and the others, and they're just, they are wild-eyed lefties, and and you just have to know that that's the case, and and just speak your mind and hold firm.
Yeah. No, what interests me is I think back to my time in like middle school, high school, when you're learning the basics of civics and everything, and it's a soft indoctrination. I think the direct indoctrination is things like critical race theory, teaching that there's like 7 different sexualities, all these things. But the soft indoctrination comes with things like our government teacher telling me when I'm maybe 10th or 11th grade that the Department of Education has basically always existed. It's just a natural, normal thing. And it's there because your zip code shouldn't determine the education you get. And we all have to pool our resources as taxpayers so poorer areas in the country can have the same resources to educate their kids. Isn't that fair? And so I grew up, and even as a conservative in a conservative home, I just thought that that was the normal status quo. Now I'm realizing that this was all soft indoctrination to get us to think a certain way, and now we have to work to rework that in the young minds.
Yeah, and then these young minds too, just like you know, like they're growing up. You talked about that in this video. They're growing up. They're trying to figure out who they are. And
how do you think Antifa became what it is today? That's the product of education over the past 20 years. So they don't understand how life works. They don't know about responsibility. They're not actually educated. And then they grow up, and then that's what happens. These kids, you got a girl, Susie. She grew up as Susie. She goes to school. She comes back. My name's John. You're right, John.
Great
but that's what happens.
Jon Root.
That's what happens. And then now we have these massive amounts of liberals. So.
No, but I'm so glad that you're pushing back on this kind of stuff, and I'm sure you have other teachers reaching out to you. It almost feels like maybe this selective club that you're a part of, like, hey, I spoke out, you spoke out. How do we get more people to speak out?
Everybody's afraid, man. Yeah. They don't want to lose their job. And here's another thing with education: you don't learn how to work with money. So I had been saving up money. I was planning to do something else. I was going to invest on a property, but whatever. So I was okay with losing my job because I said I got a cushion until I figured things out. Other people, debts, student loans, you name it, credit cards, they can't afford. If they lose their job, they're literally going to go bankrupt, lose their house. So that's a whole nother topic, but these teachers are really afraid of being canceled and getting fired because they are in the hole. They lose their job, they don't have anything else.
Wait, so what are you doing now?
Me, I'm building fences and decks.
Hey, let's go.
I got cuts all over my hands, like my arms, it's all.
Are you working for a specific company?
No, I bought a nail gun, a compressor, I bought a truck.
That's the American dream right there.
I mean, it's working out, it's working out.
Well, where can people follow you and hit you up to make sure their fences and their decks are all set up?
Just go to @Jonathan Koeppel and hit me up. I'm working in Louisiana, but if you got a lot of money, and you want me to come out of state, it's got to be pretty big. It's got to be a lot of money, but mostly in just Louisiana.
So make sure you hit him up because he's not only spreading the truth, but
I'm working. I'm being responsible. I'm like, then I got to pay taxes on everything. So that's just
But we're definitely thankful for you sharing your story and pushing back because there's a lot of people out there that are staying silent and they're not willing to lose your job.
And look, because they fired me, I'm actually suing them. So it's not over. It's not over.
Yeah. But Congressman Andy Biggs, thanks so much for joining us here. I know you got to run. You're a very, very busy man, so appreciate you spending the time. It's been a lot of fun. And thank you for all the work you do to make sure you're protecting the next generation and making sure Arizona is a beautiful place.
Yeah,
thanks, John. Morgan, Jonathan, thank you.
Coming up next, we got What in the World Wednesday. We live in a wacky world, and we're going to share some videos that really exude that later.
This has all happened before. The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We got Jonathan, Allison, and Morgan. It's time for What in the World Wednesday.
Oh, yay.
Man, we have some of the wackiest, weirdest, and wildest content we found on the internet this week. And this is what we always do on Wednesday because we live in a wild world and we should talk about this wild stuff, make fun of it, and have a good time. Because we need a little bit of humor in our lives.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Oh, man.
I mean, I feel old because every day I'm like, oh, it's Wacky Wednesday thing again. Like, time is flying. I'm getting wrinkles. Oh, my gosh.
Come on, you're 24. I'm the guy that's turning 30 later this month. All right,
Oh,
I think you're good. All right, so this first video we have for you, it's this pollution craziness and these moves. I'm so sorry, but they're going to be ingrained in your mind. Let's check it out.
What do you think is the #1 contributing factor to global warming?
I wanna dance like
Agriculture? The fashion industry?
It's how you find a homesteading husband.
Something else? I'll tell you a secret. It's the U.S. military. The U.S. military is the world's largest consumer of oil. It's the world's biggest polluter.
What is happening right now?
That was not good for the environment.
I'm gonna like do that dance and just do other like more patriotic things, I guess. No, people would tell me to stop.
Next time you're at a TPUSA event, I need you just like hit your biggest point and just listen to this, everybody.
And this makes my point more effective.
Honestly, I feel like that is the definition of feeling the spirit. So that must have been what San Francisco mayor was
What's
feeling.
interesting, it's such a good example. In America, we're in such luxurious times that we can say, okay, now that we've reached this luxurious moment as a society, this great successful economy where most people are able to succeed and provide for themselves, we can now say, okay, now how can we be better to the environment? That's a luxury, a privilege to be able to do that. They look at this kind of stuff and they're like, let's get rid of our military strength because our military strength is bad for the environment. Like, they just make terrible decisions. We are not in a place to sacrifice this.
Well, and how would that even be, like, change anybody's mind? Like, how is that,
I don't know.
she's thinking to herself, like, this is gonna change someone's mind. If I really, like, what?
But you notice there were no wildlife in that picture. They were scared to death. They got out of there.
They left
John,
before anything.
we need to put up the video one day of you at the weddings. John is a huge wedding dancer, and he
I
dances
love
like
weddings.
that. He's
Literally,
like a big noodle man.
I look
Oh
like
my
the wacky
gosh.
wavy inflatable arm man in front of a car dealership. It's just absolute tractor beam. Everybody
John
gets
is a
in there
good
like the
wedding
party
date.
has started.
Always invite. You're like the movies, like a rom-com.
I've been to 35 weddings in my life.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Man, wow. Just throwing me under the
We're
bus
in the culture
there.
wars, baby. Let's talk marriage. Somebody
That
stop
was
me.
tough. My ego's taken a hit losing a few of these games over the last week, and then now, thanks a lot, Morgan.
Well, Alex and I just loved cheating yesterday, so you know.
Oh man,
we
you
did
guys
not
did
cheat.
cheat. The ladies did cheat yesterday, but
Whatever.
we got some more for you. So, oh my goodness.
Are you okay?
People owe fat people, according to this TikToker. Listen to this.
Controversial opinion, and you can sound off in the comments if you want, but you won't change my mind. Fat people don't owe you anything, but the world owes fat people accessibility.
To what?
To
what?
Literally.
Accessibility to what?
Accessibility to bigger doorways, maybe.
The gym.
The gym.
The gym.
That's a good place.
The gym.
But that's the thing, even if we gave certain people free passes to the gym, it's their
Well,
mentality.
no, they already
it's their
have it.
mindset,
They need the
would
wider
never do
doors
it.
so they can get in.
That's what.
Stop. Don't be mean. Don't be mean. I'm saying it's
Right.
mentality that gets people to certain areas in life, certain predicaments. And if they were given, people say this too, if everybody was given $1 million and told, invest it, do what you want with it, the same people that are rich right now and the same people that are poor right now would still probably be in those circumstances after you had a little time go through. It's about mentality and mindset, and I think we're weak mentally and spiritually as a nation.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and it's like, people
look at
don't
me like
owe you
that.
anything. Like, this is America. You have opportunity. Like, we don't owe you anything. Like, you have the opportunity to get off your butt, go in the gym, eat healthy. You have all of that right in front of you. And if you don't want to take that, that's your choice. But that's part of America.
So you're like really into fitness stuff. I just like do a little bar class and Pilates in the morning. What would, like, if we're thinking solutions oriented, if we're not just complaining and like saying the door things, the jokes, what is this first step for people that don't want to be victims like we just saw on the camera? What could someone do immediately? immediately.
Step one is changing your diet. So not being super extreme, but having a gallon of water a day, eating vegetables, having fiber, all of that kind of stuff, where I don't like to tell people to eliminate things. I'm like, here's what you need to add for nutrition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that you actually get enough vitamins, you actually get minerals and things that you need to kind of, and that's a big mental piece too, right? Like when you have all these chemicals in your body, when your body's really deteriorating, your organs are crushed, all of this stuff, like there's so many mental issues that go with that. And so when people start to get healthier and they start to realize how important they are and their bodies are, it makes a huge difference.
Right?
Well, I think we just start to coddle people too. Like complacency is the worst place you can be. Like, oh, I'm just okay where I'm at. So if you're overweight, just accept me where I'm at.
Well, and
like,
it's dangerous complacency with COVID. 80% of the people that were hospitalized, died, or put on ventilators were, what do you know, overweight or obese. And so, like, I care about those people, and to see that is just, it's sad because when you enable that, you are then saying, okay, well, when a pandemic happens, you're not going to probably survive that one.
What else is sad is this next photo we're going to share. So What in the World Wednesday. This is just...
Kids.
There it is.
Oh, mini gulags.
Yeah, literally mini gulags. And then Jonathan, you had a good little point.
The kids in cages.
Yeah.
We're putting more kids in cages.
Yeah, that's voluntary prison, and it's putting it in a package to make it sound. I mean, it's manipulation with kids. It's terrible.
Yeah. What's funny is John got fired for what? Saying there's two genders, but then a teacher that puts their kids in cages
might get a
won't
promotion.
Get
You might get a promotion.
Right. That's the crazy thing.
Oh my
what fear
God.
will do to you. That's. I mean, this is all fear oriented, and it makes you irrational.
Well, I think of the mental impact it's going to have on kids for this kind of stuff. Half of me thinks that these kids that go through this are going to grow up to be like huge anti-authority, like patriots, like, you know,
I
like
hope.
that. Like they might be like members of the Freedom Caucus in Congress one day. Or they might be dangerous, useful idiots that are just completely
that's what's gonna
dangerous for our
happen,
future.
the
And it
useful
could go
idiots.
one way or the other. And I'm a little nervous, to be
Well, I
honest.
think these kids are going to have no idea how to socialize.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
the
could
issue.
you imagine that growing up and then you're literally in this just plastic box?
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to just, know how to communicate, get a job.
Make
get in the
sales?
workforce.
Like,
Yeah.
how are you going to do that? You can't even read somebody's face.
Yeah, and that teaches kids how to comply at a young age, right? It's like it's saying that you have to rely on the government or on vaccines or on exactly.
Little baby sheeps. Is there a baby sheep term? Either way, it makes
the
me
new
nervous.
song.
I think solution oriented again, all of us on this couch, all the adults, if we think of it like this, I know a lot of us are like, we're young, we're not old yet. But there is a younger generation now, like those babies in cages, and we need to be mentors to them. Like they have parents that probably maybe support the mandate and stuff. So how can we be mentors to them? How can we lift up this generation? And instead of them becoming useful idiots that are going to lead to like dictatorship in the future or regime in America, how can we get them on that anti-authority path? It's up to us to connect the dots of what's going on to make sure that they know that they are valuable and worth more than what the people in charge are doing to them right now.
I think teaching people to think for themselves and teaching the basic principles of hard work. Like hard work is so important in being able to pick up yourself when you're down and not just rely on other people or become the victim in a situation just because you fell. And that's easier, but doing what's more difficult is usually doing what's right and usually standing up for yourself and doing all those things. I think we need to teach people just how to be tough.
That's it. Tough.
We need to teach this next TikToker how to be tough, because I guess if you use the term guys when you're talking about a group of people, you're one of the worst people out there. Check out this TikTok.
Let's talk about the use of guys as a gender-neutral term. For a lot of trans and non-binary folks, being referred to in this way triggers their dysphoria. And people will say, oh, I call all my friends guys, even my girlfriends. But your cis friends did not experience the trauma of being conditioned into a gender that is not theirs.
We have way more other problems. I see this crap and I used to laugh at it and now I'm like, shut up. Bigger problems.
Yeah, I mean, sticks and stones can break your bones. Words can't. What the trauma from the way you say something? Are you serious?
But this is a truth issue, because if you can't accept basic reality, basic truth, what else are you going to believe?
Yeah.
They've obviously bought into this confusion that they're, dealing with. And if you want to be an adult, be a transvestite, whatever, go for it. Keep that out of my face. Keep that away from the kids. But it's not natural. A man's always a man. A woman's always a woman. You can't change that. And they're basically rebelling against themselves. It's messed up.
I think that's the highest point of pride, is saying that God created you as a man or a woman, and now you're saying, you know what, God, you screwed up. I'm going to take it from here, and I'm going to change to what I feel like I should have.
Good point. Like, God, you really messed this one up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the reins now.
They would have to believe in God in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
But you notice you never
that's
see
the root of the
a
issue.
cat say, I'm a dog trapped in a cat's body. Like, you never are going to see that. So
Humans will say that about.
I thought I'd
she
throw
was
that in
meant
there.
To be, I'm sorry, I can't help.
It's like transracial.
About that soon. Like,
I guarantee
mark
you.
my words.
Yep.
You're going to see that on Nickelodeon very, very soon. But coming up
Superman.
next, there's an absolute supply chain disaster. Jen Psaki talked about it, and then President Biden gave an address. We're going to talk about that later.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. Any questions?
Conservatives! Politics is now on TPUSA Live. It'll be here every day in case you want to hear me out along with the rest of the Turning Point USA team. Don't miss out on all the conservative.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We got Jonathan, Allison, and Morgan. So welcome back.
Thrilling.
Well, the World Wednesday is always so fun too. It's like my favorite day of the week because we just get to show
I like
people
the real or not real, because I guess they're all real.
real deal or fake news. Yeah, because you can just never tell.
Yeah.
The
I don't
world
want
that
to
we
be on
live in.
another game show, though. If you put me on another one of those, I will.
I'll talk to the producers about that. But we got to talk about the supply chain disaster that's going on. So there's been ships, cargo ships at sea for months. The Biden administration hasn't really known what to do with it, it seems like. And then finally, with shelves being empty and everything going on there, people wanted answers because they're being told right now that you might not even be able to get your gifts for Christmas because they're not going to be able to be delivered and they're not going to be on shelves. So basically, the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, they make up 40% of shipping containers entering the country. And that's where we're seeing the biggest problem right now with the supply chain. And they're currently experiencing major shipping delays. There's backlogs. And also, I'm being told, I know I was watching Fox earlier today, if you have a cargo ship go from Asia to Los Angeles, it's taking twice as long as it normally does. And it's just sitting there because you have no workers there in trucks that are picking this stuff up. So people were asking Press Secretary Jen Psaki, what's the deal? They're asking.
What'd you do? Circle back?
Yeah, she circled back.
I'll get back to that one a little bit.
But everyone's obviously looking to President Biden because for
leadership?
We need leadership and we need answers.
For a sentence?
But this is what he had to say at his address today, talking about the supply chain disaster.
By staying open 7 days a week through the night and on the weekends, the Port of Los Angeles will open over 60 extra hours a week will be open. In total, that will almost double the number of hours that the port is open for business from earlier this year. That means an increase in the hours for workers to be moving cargo off ships onto trucks and rail cars to get to their destination. And more than that, the night hours are critical for increasing the movement of goods because highways are less crowded in the evening, at night.
President Biden, we don't have any workers there. Like, literally. And then we appreciate Fox News always giving us this content too.
I'm surprised that he didn't end that and being like, it's good that the highways are empty because of climate change and stuff. We're all gonna die. But AOC's gonna be on Instagram Live tonight making her drinks and stuff.
But this too, it's just okay, so you have shipping containers that are just sitting there at sea and they're sitting there in the ports, and we know the problem is we don't have people in these trucks that can take them off these cargo ships.
So you established the problem. It's not the hours, right? That's the actual problem.
You know what we're gonna do?
That's the actual problem.
So
doesn't
we need
take
more
a
hours,
genius.
you're saying.
Yeah, we need more hours for the people that aren't working.
So we should fire everybody that doesn't get a vax, is what you're saying.
No, he literally said the problem wasn't workers at all. He said it's got to be traffic, right?
It's traffic.
So
Yep.
we should be driving at night, and then we're gonna do this 24/7.
Because people are taking more road trips now. The gas is through the roof. We're definitely driving more. This all makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
I can't believe how crazy this is. I'm like,
oh man.
does anybody, when I watch his stuff and I hear him speak, I just feel so hopeless about his leadership. Like, usually when something would happen and a president comes, like, think of George Bush throwing the baseball after 9/11 on the field. Everybody loves him. President Bush, everybody rallied around him. Now it's like, this guy's back.
Let's get this guy to throw a baseball.
And I have no confidence in him at all.
And then, according to the Department of Transportation, 75% of goods in America travel by truck. Right. So, like, hopefully somebody can give President Biden that information, because obviously because of COVID-19, that included, there was, like, everything was shut down, like DMVs, truck driving schools, and also people are getting paid more to sit on their couch than get behind the wheel of a truck. And then now you're telling people you need to be working through the night, getting paid less, and you need to work 24/7. For us, and you need to fix our problem.
Yeah, people would rather be on unemployment than actually work, because they don't have to do anything, and there's actually incentives to stay, because the more you work, the less your paycheck is, and that paycheck is sometimes more than, you know what I mean, what you would get at a job.
Well, yeah, once they take the taxes out, I mean, you're left with what, pennies?
Yeah, but that's the problem with the administration with, you know, President Biden, is that he's better at diverting a situation. Jen's the same way. Let me circle back. It's like, when are you actually going to answer the question? When are you actually going to give us an answer so we know how to handle it? That's the problem.
Yeah, and then we actually have a video of Press Secretary Jen Psaki. This is what she had to say about your Christmas
I know what
gifts.
she's going to say.
Can this administration guarantee that holiday packages will arrive on time?
We are not the Postal Service or UPS or FedEx. We cannot guarantee.
I'm sorry, why, out of everything why do we care if presents will arrive on time? Is that supposed to, like, pull at the heartstrings? And I just don't get that stuff. Why, as Americans, with everything going on, are we like, but are our Christmas presents going
Is that what we're actually worried about?
Right.
Like, are we, like, actually worried about that, or is the media trying to make something stupid
They're trying to make
in
some
the news, right?
emotional thing.
But what's funny is, will my votes arrive on time? Like,
Right.
we're not the
We're
post
not
office.
gonna-
All of a sudden, the post office was God, the USPS was God just a few months ago, and now
That's
it's
such a
like,
good point.
It's government run,
you know, it's
too.
I can't tell you if it's gonna come or not. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe
That's
we'll
what
lose it.
people are doing.
Yeah, we don't know.
That's such a
Just
good
like
point.
your votes.
I just don't know how she answers every question being so passive aggressive. It's just like,
She's why women have so, like, bad stereotypes about us in positions of power. I'm like, Jen, there's nicer ways to speak, honey.
Right. Literally.
And they're asking you about Christmas gifts. Like, they could actually be asking you legitimate questions, but what irks me always is when we hear President Biden address the nation, he is not taking any questions. No wonder he's not taking questions, because he literally says the problem, if we're going to solve it, we need to spend more money with this infrastructure bill. We need to make sure that there's no traffic going on. It doesn't matter if we don't have any workers. At least the freeways are open. He would just get, hopefully there would be more than just Peter Doocy from Fox News grilling him.
Well, other than Peter Doocy, is anybody going to ask him? I'm honestly like, okay, if they ask questions about Christmas presents, even if Biden took questions, who in the media is going to ask him serious questions? Like, hey, there's still thousands of citizens and allies behind enemy lines in Afghanistan. What are you doing about that? All of these serious questions. Is anybody even going to ask him other than poor Peter?
Literally, you need people to do their job here. And that's what it's got to frustrate you anytime you hear President Biden address the nation, when it's just like, you can appreciate past presidents, even presidents that you didn't vote for, that would sit there and actually answer questions. Because it finally, like,
their brains worked a little different.
Yeah.
Right.
There was something actually functioning there, even though we might not have liked it. It was functioning.
There was something in there.
There was something. It wasn't just air.
More than a teleprompter.
Yeah, maybe that's what we need. We need a journalist named Teleprompter to start asking the questions, and then we can get the answers.
Wait, get the hackers. Find the hackers and be like, hey, go hack that computer and go put the questions in there.
But here it's just, we got to be solution oriented. So what's going to be happening in the supply chain? So said days ago, this is what the Port of Long Beach, they said they're going to be, their strategies, they're going to be open Monday through Thursday. The Port of Los Angeles said they're sticking to their existing hours. That's what they said days ago. Before this morning, President Biden said that they announced we're going to be open 24/7, 7 days a week. But this is what they said days ago. It's been nearly impossible to get everyone on the same page about such a change, and that was Gene Soroka, the port's executive director, told the Wall Street Journal about that. So basically here it's like, all right, a few days ago, they said we literally can't get people on the same page. And then now it's, once again, President Biden just throwing people under the bus, just like what happened at the border.
Yeah.
It's just, now it's just Border Patrol's fault. Like they're whipping people, and if only they could get,
nobody got whipped,
which never happened. But they're obviously always throwing it on these people, just like they're throwing it on the port executives here. It's like, oh, it's your problem.
Well, it's the problem of average Americans now, and just going to take this opportunity to normalize and radicalize the masses via TPUSALIVE. If you haven't heard of homesteading, it's called self-reliance, baby. And right now, everybody's reliant on the corporate supply systems, the supply chains that are international, on our government that hates us. So many issues with relying on these greater systems. We need to be more self-reliant as individuals, as families, as communities. And so I hope everybody starts to understand. Remember, like early COVID, the toilet paper issue, people were filling up their gas with I saw people with like grocery bags, putting gasoline in them, trying to take it from the place. These are all just little examples of what is to come. Maybe I sound
it's happening
like a prepper.
Right now too.
Maybe I sound crazy, but I'm going to be okay and safe with my family because I'm ready, people. And I hope everybody starts to consider what in your life could just a small percentage of it, could that be adjusted to focus more on local markets and in your local community, making sure that you're able to feed yourself, take care of yourself, have the basic supplies in your home, that kind of stuff.
That's a good point. I mean, because there's, we don't want to be relying on the government, and really the market should correct itself if we all make better decisions. The places that are getting the money that we don't want to fund will have to change because our money's not going to be going there, right? So I think that's a really key idea, and definitely localizing where we purchase our stuff is so important.
Yeah.
Well, what's happening, or what happened during the early pandemic when you're talking about toilet paper rolls just not being available, it's happening now too. They're limiting purchases at places like Costco on toilet paper and paper towels.
Get ready for more supply shortages.
And this is America.
Keep happening.
And we're having these talks and we're watching this happen. Like in Cuba, where I've been and I've seen it, you can only get so much, like chicken, for example. You're only allowed so many pounds per person. The fact that we're rationing items at the grocery store in America should appall everybody and make you realize we need to go back to small business, more self-reliance, more independence, and get off of the noonie of the government. Like, stop sucking the milk. Like, it has to happen.
It's true, but that's a really good point. I mean, taking responsibility for ourselves is start a business. Like, you want to do something, start a business.
And you're more financially independent. You're not dependent on the corporations that employ you. You're not dependent on the teachers, the schools, the system, the government.
But at the same time, when we see this address, we see Press Secretary Jen Psaki talk about this, it seems like constantly they're just unprepared. This is another situation, like this wasn't a specific policy that led to a supply chain disaster, but there was a lack of action again. And we've seen that this is just a reoccurring thing. And think about just over 3 more years of this, it scares the heck out of me.
I think what I was thinking, like their PR approach is to just hopefully let things fizzle and die out enough that it's not like key headline.
Right.
And then as the weeks go on and it's no longer in the top headline section and talked about on the news, then they like have to start addressing it in reality. And we just don't even know about it because, we're talking about other stuff like Christmas present arrival.
They need a bigger
in
rug.
October.
Their rug's not big enough because they're shoving everything under it. Like, they need a bigger rug.
What's that lump on that rug?
Hopefully it's made in America. That'd be great.
Yeah. But another thing too, we've talked about inflation a lot on this show too. Like, if you're not hearing the truth anywhere else, you're going to get it right here on TPUSA Live. So the prices have increased, the highest they've been since January 1991. For 4 straight months, the CPI has increased, and there's a 5.4 increase.
Percent?
Yeah. Yes.
Lumber just went up last night. I buy fence material, and my posts were $9.58 or $9.68. Now they're $10.17. That's just overnight, from like yesterday to today. So this inflation's everywhere.
Yeah.
Happening daily.
Yeah, same. My flag business, when that was first happening a few months
ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I make wooden American flags. The cost of goods for my wooden American flags were doubling in some instances because we use different woods and cedar got really expensive. But that kind of stuff, it hurts. It hurts a pretty penny. It's how I pay my bills, people.
Well, at the same time, the wages aren't keeping up with inflation.
Nope.
So their idea is like, well, let's just make it $15 an hour and just keep printing money. And that's what they just seem to
That'll solve
to
it.
do. Yeah, it's just like that's the only way that we're going to solve this, by printing more money and sending more money out there. But this is hurting everyday Americans now because the cost of food is skyrocketed. So you probably noticed when you're grocery shopping, every single one of us has, the cost of bacon's gone up 19.3%. I love my bacon breakfast burritos, but they're costing way too much. We love bacon in America.
It's so American. It's like apple pie.
It really is.
Well, see, that's why
Kidding.
if you do the homestead thing, you can have your little pigs, little chickens. You got the eggs,
Baby
the
goats.
poultry, the baby goats,
Honey.
and you just have to learn how to skin a pig.
Jam.
But you can get your own bacon.
Hopefully, I have a husband that can do that.
But also too, beef is up 12.6%. Fish and seafood is up 10.7%. Fruit and vegetables are up 3%, and non-alcoholic drinks are up 3.7%. I have no percentage on the alcoholic drinks, but I'd imagine that the sales are going up.
Want to know what I'm thinking too? With this era of COVID where we all need to be healthier, that's like the best way that we can fight this freaking pandemic. The cost of healthy food is always what goes up most, and that affects low-income families and middle-class families the most, because then we end up buying more preservative-filled foods and more unhealthy foods and more sugary drinks, because all that natural good stuff, those costs rise.
Yeah, and people just need to realize this too. Like, just get the truth behind this stuff. Like, whether you voted for this person or not, this is a disaster, and it's hurting you. And I think that's
the
what
reality. Again, if you can't believe in two genders, how are you going to realize the reality of what's going on?
No, John's so honest. You're so onto something. How can we make a point to them if they are not operating in reality?
You can't. They're not even realistic.
Well, and they always have an excuse too.
Problem solved, but problem inevitable.
But there's an excuse for absolutely everything. And then Morgan Zegers, you're actually leaving us, aren't you?
Oh, I was like, John, what are you about to say? Yes, I have to go film Freedom Papers, and I'm on Spicer's Newsmax show coming up in like 10 minutes. If anybody wants to watch both things at the same time with Gorka, it'll be fun.
My goodness, are you going to leave on set now? You're just going to dip
yeah,
out like that? I thought we were going to wait for the
left.
commercial break.
We were all done. Sorry, everybody. I want everybody to double screen it.
One of the dramatic.
Coming up next, and one last thing, we'll tell you about a brave student that didn't wear a mask and they shut down the school. Check it out.
In these United States of America, this great country of ours, we American Indians, we can be anything we want to be, except American Indians.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
What we call huelte. Huelte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good. Just like Nazi concentration camps.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in.
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity.
That's why our suicide rate has climbed up astronomical rates.
I moved from the poorest county in America, the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, to the richest area in the country, the Navajo Indian Reservation. There is no difference. The poorest and richest reservations in our nation suffer from identical problems. This is not anything new. This is an everyday occurrence in all tribal governments.
So my life and my tale and my truth has been to fight socialism, and I'm hoping that I can wake up as many Navajos as I can to tell them that you can do this, even if I have to fight you to save you. And I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people. Even though they are so harsh on social media and they completely hammer at me, I tell them, I'll be here even if I have to fight you to save you.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We got Jonathan and Allison, and this is starting to feel like The View a few weeks ago, and we're just like losing a few people. So if you've been keeping track with us for the whole hour, we lost a few. We had Congressman Andy Biggs, we had Morgan Zegers here as well, but we're down to the dynamic duo.
Yeah.
So glad you guys are here. But we need to tell you a story about this brave young lady out of Wyoming high school. She was arrested for not complying with her school's mandate of wearing a mask. And they actually briefly shut down the school, went into lockdown because she wasn't wearing a mask. We have an incredible video of that here.
All right.
Good?
Yep.
All right. So you're still refusing to leave?
Yes, sir.
Even after you're receiving your citation?
Yes, sir.
All right. Then at this point, I am going to place you into custody for trespassing.
Okay.
Go down to the jail. How's that sound?
All right.
All right. No, you have a shoulder issue, right? You can leave it in there.
No, it's okay. I can take it out. I can go back.
You can leave your hand on the rock. Put it in front.
All right.
Yep. I'm not going to put your hands behind your back because that's just going to, I don't want to hurt your shoulder.
So that was a 16-year-old Grace Smith. We actually have a photo of her, this brave young lady right here. We're going to throw up on the screen. And there's Grace there, arrested for not wearing a mask. And they went into a lockdown.
She must be a threat, right? She's a violent threat to every student at that school, right? Just for showing her face.
Well, you know what? If more people did this, if we had tons of kids, tons of adults standing up and saying, there's no science backing this. This isn't working. The masks that we even wear, I mean, they don't even do anything. So if we had more people standing up, they couldn't stop it. It's more people need to stand up and just really speak and live out the truth that we know.
And what's absolutely insane to me is they said she was trespassing. She's a student at Laramie High School, and
Public school.
They said that she was trespassing, and then Albany County School District, they said in a statement, Smith's arrest caused a brief lockdown to prevent further interruptions to academic learning. You're telling somebody that goes to school there, a student, they're not allowed there if they don't wear a mask, they're trespassing, and what about her academic learning?
Well, when you don't go to school, that's a crime called truancy. You know, so telling her to come to school, now you're trespassing, and we're going to arrest you and shut down the school because you're a threat. The world is on fire, if you haven't seen it. I mean, it's like there's smoke everywhere, and then like flames. It is on fire.
Well, the great part about this video, too, we didn't show you the full video, but she was so full of grace and so respectful during this whole time too, because this is a ridiculous situation. She's getting arrested and called a trespasser.
I hope she sues them and wins a massive lawsuit because she represents all the kids in America right now.
And then actually her father, when he was talking to a reporter, said when I asked them if they're arresting her for not wearing a mask, they would say, no, we're arresting her for violation of failure to comply in accordance with their trespassing ordinance. So this is what we come down to, too. And it just must be absolutely insane seeing that from a teacher's point of view.
Yeah, adults bullying and harassing a little girl.
It's terrible.
And then more information here. So Grace faced her third suspension and has also received $1,000 in trespassing fines, all for not wearing a mask. That's it.
That's terrible.
We're at this point in 2021, towards the end of the year now, and we have students. We need more brave students like this. And that's what's so incredible about this. There was no other students around at all.
And I think you made a really key point saying that she did it with such grace, right? Yeah. People think when we say things like do not comply that you have to stand up and be aggressive and attack. You can simply say no. I'm not doing this. I'm not agreeing to this. I'm not doing it anymore. And here's where I draw the line. And you can do that with grace and you can do that with compassion and you can still have that understanding but say, this is un-American and I'm not going to do it.
Well, it's a definition of civil disobedience. Right. That's what it is.
But I mean, she didn't burn down a building. She didn't throw a rock through a window.
Crazy, right?
She didn't actually trespass. So I know some people that burned down buildings that may not have gotten a trespassing, citation or anything. So
well, and that was applauded too. You have just leftist politicians that are egging people on, just shout people down, burn down buildings. Just this is the way you're going to enact change. No, we need more people like this.
Just like her. Just like her.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's absolutely insane because she came out and said, this student said she has a right to stay at school to further her education as a straight A student who has never broken the law.
Oh yeah, she's golden. She's going to get a lot of money.
Yeah, and I hope this just starts a trend too with high school students or students, whether you're in college, high school, elementary school. It's a tough time for kids. I know we talk about that all the time here on this show. I don't know how I would really react if I was a 16-year-old and I was told that I might get arrested if I don't go to school without a mask. like, it's so easy for us to be on our high horse to be like, whoa, you know, I would definitely do it. It's like, no, we're a little bit older now, and we're able to have this 30,000 foot view, and we weren't faced with that kind of.
Never have we experienced anything like that growing up.
Yeah, it's insane. But definitely, Jonathan Koeppel, thanks so much for your time here. It's definitely, we got to have you back, because some of these comments were just absolutely this is like clippable stuff. I can't wait for our
I'm from Louisiana, so we say whatever. So I just want you to know that. Be prepared.
Yeah, but I appreciate you stepping up too. And then also, Alison, thanks so much for being here, sharing the truth on your radio station, and also having a great time here at TPUSA Live. If you want to read some more about what we talked about today, go to tpusa.com/live feed. Coming up next, we got On the Frontlines with Isabel Brown, and then Smash with MAGA Hulk Stephen Davis. And don't forget, we got the biggest patriotic party of the year, America Fest. Go to tpusa.com/AmFest. Jonathan, we got to get you there.
I'm going.
Tomorrow. We'll do the TikTok with us.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. Any questions?
Turning Point USA is changing the state of American culture every single day. And with every major victory comes significant pushback from the left, who will do just about whatever it takes to shut us down. Their efforts are often so extreme, I can't help but think the left is terrified of the impact our movement is making. In this episode of On the Frontlines, we're diving into the fight against Turning Point USA on America's high school and college campuses at Taylor University, Glenbrook South High School, Catholic University, Tennessee Tech, and the great state of Montana. We'll sit down with one of Turning Point USA's most courageous students leading the fight for the conservative perspective at the University of Florida, following the school's decision to ban all conservative clubs from campus. And we'll meet a professor from the University of Illinois who's terrified of Turning Point USA. All this and more. I'm Isabel Brown, and this is On the Frontlines.
On campus, the left tries to silence us.
There's a lot of liberal indoctrination.
Universities don't stand for objective truth.
Insulting us, threatening us.
We are on the front lines.
Hi, my name's Carter Murmur. I'm here in front of Ben O. Griffin Stadium in Gainesville, Florida. Go Gators. I'm 22 years old. I'm studying business administration. I'm in my senior year here. Growing up, I really wasn't into politics much, but around the age of 17, 18, going into college, I really found a passion for it. And when I came to the University of Florida, I got involved with some conservative clubs and movements. With the help of another individual, I helped co-found the Turning Point chapter here at the University of Florida. Became president of the chapter, and I can honestly say it was the highlight of my college experience. I've made lifelong friends, and with them, we put on amazing activism events, socials, community outreach. It was awesome. My name is Carter Murmur, and this is On the Frontlines.
Please welcome Carter Murmur from the University of Florida. Carter, please tell us more about how you got involved with Turning Point USA and what inspired you to be a student leader on campus.
Well, first I want to say thank you for having me. So it was freshman year, and I had a friend who went to the Young Women's Leadership Conference.
Very cool.
In Dallas. And she got really pumped and she got motivated to start a chapter at UF. And she knew that I was into politics, so she asked me if I wanted to help her start it. So from there, I served as vice president at first, but then I eventually became president. And because I love the organization, I wanted to stick with it.
What has your experience been like so far as one of our top student activists across the country?
It's been awesome. It's definitely been the highlight of my college career. Most of my best friends now are from the chapter at UF. I met so many amazing people. It's been really inspiring to see how many people love the country and are motivated to fight for their values.
You attend the University of Florida, which I think many people would safely assume is a pretty conservative environment to be in, but your campus recently made several national news headlines after they decided to unilaterally get rid of all student clubs, including your Turning Point USA chapter. What happened there? Walk us through what that process was like.
So we had a really awesome event called the Conservative Coalition Cookout on March 3rd of this year, where we went to the public field, Norman Field, right across from the university, right across from the sororities. We ordered Sonny's Barbecue, and we told people it's just going to be a social. Come, hang out. Everything was normal. And then, but like a couple of days later, we got a message from the university, and came as a total surprise. It said, you guys are now on interim suspension as we look into what happened. We were totally blown away. I mean, we were wearing masks on this field. We chose an outside venue on a public field. So we followed the rules.
And yet they still suspended you. And not just you, every other conservative club on campus,
So
too.
it was, yeah, there were 4 clubs there. It was Turning Point, Young Americans for Freedom, the College Republicans, and the Network for Enlightened Women.
So they initially suspended you, and then I believe, if I remember correctly from your story, you guys appealed that process, and you said, hang on, we followed all of the rules. What happened then?
So we appealed it, and to no surprise, they were set on suspending us still.
So COVID restrictions were the official reason that they gave you for suspending your clubs, right?
That was the official reason, yeah. And there was a technicality. They really got us on a technicality. There was an issue in reserving the field, this public field. They wanted us to...
Reserving a public field outside. Fascinating.
At a public university. We had to make sure that we reserved it. So that's really where they got us, to be honest.
Wow. So obviously, reading through all of the emails back and forth between your chapter and the university, they say COVID was the reason, but we really know the real reason that they were targeting Turning Point USA and these other clubs. It was for a political perspective. Why do you think the administration was so adamant that every conservative club had to be banned from campus?
I think there was immense pressure on them. There was a lot of backlash, like, hey, these conservative clubs, they were endangering the health and safety of our community, our students. That's what they said. It was an outside event. There were masks worn, whatever. But yeah, I think that they had a lot of pressure on themselves to do something, to make it so they didn't seem like weak, or that they weren't, make sure that they weren't enforcing the rules. So they suspended all of us, and we're still currently suspended, but just up until the first week of fall.
I think people were so surprised with your story that this wasn't happening at a Stanford or a Harvard or a Yale, where you would expect some of this politically motivated communication coming from a school's administration to a conservative club. What do you wish people knew about the University of Florida and how difficult it is to be a conservative on campus, even there?
So I actually get messages all the time from people who are starting as freshmen to go to UF. And they're nervous. They're like, what's the climate there? I heard that you guys just got suspended. I'm nervous. Am I going to be able to find friends? But I always tell them that regardless of what the administration thinks or what they believe, there's so many like-minded people on campus. And really, if you just get involved with our chapter, Turning Point USA at the University of Florida, or the other conservative clubs, there's like 2 or 3 others, you'll find your friends.
I think that's true at most universities across the country, and what makes it so special to be a Turning Point USA student leader, because you have that backing of the community to fight back when things do get hard, which was exactly what happened in your story. Tell me more about what led you to decide to fight back against your administration, and what that process looked like as a Turning Point USA chapter president, telling your administration you deserve to have a space on campus.
So we appealed it twice. And then I had a meeting with the administration, and Anthony Sabatini he's a Florida congressman right now. He even hopped on the Zoom call, and he was like my counsel. It was an awesome experience. Kat Kamek, she called the president of UF, and she was like, this doesn't smell right. And there was just a lot of pressure on the university, so much so that they made like an official response to it.
Wow. So this idea of watching you and Turning Point USA like a hawk, I think, is becoming normalcy on most college campuses across the country, including places you least expect it, like the University of Florida. Why do you think college administrations are so terrified of Turning Point USA in particular?
Well, I think this organization, the people in it are a bunch of fighters, and they're not going to let a bureaucracy go overboard and start making a whole bunch of tyrannical rules. I know that we have the professor Watchlist. If there's professors that are spewing bias and they're not really teaching, they're more like indoctrinating. Our organization has always fought back against that and fought for free thinkers.
Do you have any words of encouragement or advice to other Turning Point USA student activists who may face this potentially in their future with their chapter getting suspended, with being labeled all these crazy things by the administration? Knowing what you know now, what would you tell those students?
I would say stay strong and don't freak out. Reach out to your local congressman and congresswoman, because in our case, they were more than willing to help us. Talk with your executive board members, try to figure out a strategy on how to manage this, and I think it'll all be okay in the end.
It usually does, and you have had your fair share of negative experiences with your administration and fighting for a presence on campus. Personally, I'm sure it hasn't been easy being the front-facing person for Turning Point USA on your college campus and being the chapter president for your local chapter there. Knowing what you know now and having gone through this experience over the last year, fighting so much with your administration, would you still go back to your freshman year of college and choose to start a Turning Point chapter?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because it's been the highlight of my college career. It's been so much fun. So the connections, the experience, and just fighting for what I believe in, and having people around you who are just as motivated to fight for the same beliefs. There's something really inspiring about that, really exciting. And yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way.
What's next for Turning Point USA at the University of Florida? Your suspension is up in just a couple of weeks. By the time people watch this interview, it will have already been lifted. Do you have any big plans for the fall?
Yeah, so we're gonna have a whole bunch of guest speakers come. We're gonna have socials. We're going to have bi-weekly meetings. It's going to be everything that was in the past, and then plus more. I would say the most exciting thing is going to be the amount of guest speakers that we're going to be able to have.
Well, Carter, we cannot wait to see what is next for you and your chapter. Thank you so much for what you're doing to fight for the conservative voice on your college campus and inspiring so many of our other chapter leaders across the country.
Thank you, Isabel. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back to dive into our state of campus with more on the Frontlines. As the conservative movement has grown stronger over the years, Turning Point USA has evolved into a cultural leader fighting for freedom on American campuses. No other politically based campus organization even comes close to the reach and impact of Turning Point USA, and each year it grows even more. As we continue to educate and equip the next generation of freedom fighters, the backlash has become stronger too. Today, we're diving into some of the craziest stories of education targeting our Turning Point USA family, and you won't believe how insane they are. Here's the good news though, Turning Point USA is just getting started. It's time for your State of Campus. Let's kick things off at Indiana's Taylor University, where Turning Point USA's appeal to be formally recognized on campus was rejected this year by the Student Senate. They claimed Turning Point USA's actions have repeatedly fostered divisiveness through social media and incited conflict on multiple other college campuses, which would be inconsistent with the mission statement of Taylor University clubs. Fostering divisiveness and inciting conflict. You'd think this university was talking about itself, but woke individuals and institutions are self-absorbed and never self-aware. If you know anything about Turning Point USA, you know we love a healthy debate. It's not inciting conflict to want to talk about someone's opinions that you disagree with. Fun fact, Taylor U, debate is how the pros solve problems. If we didn't have conflicts, nothing would ever get done. Our favorite part of campus life is the opportunity to hold meaningful conversations about what we value, whether it be around a folding table or during a Q&A session with Charlie Kirk. These conversations, which used to be a pillar of the collegiate experience, are now considered divisive. How is speaking fact offensive? It's beyond me. This really just goes to show how far campuses have embraced delusion. The backlash towards Turning Point USA is not isolated to college campuses this year either. Nearby in Illinois, Glenbrook South High School's Turning Point USA chapter was also banned after the chapter hung up posters around campus criticizing the Chinese Communist Party. If you haven't seen these incredible designs from our TPUSA field program, check this out. One of our most popular activism posters features a character from the game Among Us with the caption, "China kinda sus," and the communist hammer and sickle symbols. It is entirely obvious that these posters focus on the Chinese Communist Party, not Chinese people as a race, but the school seemed to think differently. An Illinois state representative and parent of a Glenbrook South student told the media the clear intent was to stoke xenophobic anti-Asian sentiment. You know the ink blot tests therapists use to ask patients what they see? People on the left would see racist for every single image. The intent of the poster is clearly to point out the behavior and policies of the Chinese Communist Party, not the people who live under the horrors of its regime. But in 2021, when racism is the hallmark trait of every action in our society, these Turning Point USA students were labeled as racists, anti-Asian, and more. You can say you hate a government without hating the people. Actually, you shouldn't like the government at all, especially one that's an imposter like the CCP. For the record, I have played Among Us, and I did use that intentional pun. Thank you. If you thought this state representative's perception of a poster was insane, just wait until you hear about a professor's emotional spiral over Turning Point USA. We'll be right back with On the Frontlines. Perhaps no one hates Turning Point USA more than the insanely leftist professors indoctrinating the next generation of college students, especially when they make our coveted professor watch list. Catherine Pendergast from the University of Illinois is no exception. Dr. Pendergast is a professor of English and an affiliate of the Russian, East European, and Eurasian Center at the school, and repeatedly shares controversial and, frankly, inaccurate opinions, both in the classroom and on social media. She claims the reason socialism has yet to take hold in America is because of, wait for it, racism. Haven't heard that one before. Dr. Pendergast also refers to conservatives as Nazis, while urging white Americans not to vote as a sacrifice to America to make us a better country. White people, if you post one more time with your I voted sticker, this professor is going to have words. Here's what she had to say on Twitter. Bear with me while I make my push for 2 election cycles where whites don't vote. I realize this is crazy and impossible, but I truly believe a demonstrative sacrifice is needed on behalf of whites to correct this dire course we're on. MAGA equals Nazi. Ah, yes, so enlightened. I have many questions, but first, aren't you white? Should we assume that you too will stop voting to prevent Nazism? Probably not. That's pretty racist. Now, here's the best part of the story. She has attacked TPUSA students as abusive bullies online and, once placed on this watch list, threw a tantrum claiming she was on a list that promoted professor harassment and even assassination. As an English professor well aware of the impact of language, you'd think she'd be more careful about the use of hyperbole in everyday life. You'd also think that her involvement with a Russian, East European, and Eurasian center would mean she knows why socialism shouldn't take hold in any place. But then again, she has her pronouns in her Twitter bio, so the obvious is clearly lost upon her no matter what. Dr. Pendergast, you're on our list, and all you other educators out there, keep it up, and you just might make our professor watch list. Jumping back on campus, we're headed to the Catholic University of America, where Turning Point USA was officially denied as a recognized student organization this year. Claiming there were already enough conservative organizations on campus, administrators shut down the application of Turning Point USA to become a new club in the community. In an email to Kayla Maloney, the student who applied for official recognition, administrators said, after careful review, we have decided to deny your request to start. We believe that the existing organizations on our campus already fulfill the mission and goals of what a Turning Point chapter would provide, and it's important that we support our existing organizations before agreeing to start new ones. Meanwhile, it's completely acceptable for other similarly aligned organizations to exist on campus, like multiple environmental clubs or multiple clubs focused on Chinese heritage. For having a surplus of conservative-leaning organizations, I would think Catholic University would appreciate Turning Point USA having events and hosting speakers on campus too, but I guess that's just too similar to the goals of other clubs. Here's a concept, and bear with me. A place where people can express their opinions, practice their beliefs, debate differences, and assemble with those who think similarly. We could call it a constitutional republic. I don't know, just a wild idea. Let's head out west where things are free, or at least they should be. Except today in Montana, where leftists are even more wrong about reality. The great state of Montana has its gripes against Turning Point USA too. Leading up to an event I spoke at last spring alongside Alex Clark, Vince Dow, and several other elected officials for the state, the Montana Human Rights Network released a 21-page report on Turning Point USA, claiming we were a minor league version of white nationalism that should not be welcome to host events in Montana. Once again, freedom of speech gone. The Montana Human Rights Network claims Turning Point USA's history is connected to racism and white nationalism, which they define as a social movement that espouses the United States was founded by and for white European heritage. But aside from stating their opinion, they failed to provide any examples with evidence. Have you ever paid attention to anything Turning Point USA has ever posted online, said in the news, or done at an event? Literally take 5 seconds to Google Turning Point USA, and you will see people from all backgrounds working here and representing our company. This idea that the conservative movement is a white nationalist one is the laziest argument I've ever heard. Do better. They then went further with their outlandish claims, saying Charlie Kirk and TPUSA ultimately seek to divide us into warring camps, where winning political points is more important than building healthy communities. By healthy community, I'm sure they mean a place of tolerance and freedom of thought, so long as there are no conservatives or differing opinions, of course. In all seriousness, the real points being won across campus go to those who can cry racism the loudest and the most. So let's end with some professors who seem to be racing to the finish line of insanity. If you're a professor even thinking about advising a TPUSA chapter, good luck. We're rounding things out today with a story from Tennessee Tech University, where 2 professors actually threatened one of their peers for serving as an advisor to the local Turning Point USA chapter on campus. Julia Gruber and Andrew Smith are facing potential disciplinary action after they created a flyer targeting nursing professor Andrew Donadio as a racist. Their flyer states, "This racist college professor thought it would be a good idea to help start a Tennessee Tech chapter for this national hate group, where racist students can unite to harass, threaten, intimidate, and terrorize persons of color, feminists, liberals, and the like, especially their teachers." I remember a time, not long ago, a few minutes ago, actually, when leftists accused a poster of being racist for calling out a communist regime that persecutes millions of people. But a poster that wrongfully defames a private citizen for helping students with a club is a problem. And falsely accusing someone of racism is the real racist issue. Professors Gruber and Smith, bullying is not only so leftist, but it's also so middle school. Grow up and get some common sense. Better yet, stop fighting against organizations like Turning Point USA that aim to bring reason back to campuses that expel it. Has your chapter been denied recognition on your college campus? Do your teachers hate Turning Point USA? Tell us your story in the comments, and that's your State of Campus. Turning Point USA has never been under more attack from the left than today on high school and college campuses. Chapters are denied recognition, students and faculty members fighting for freedom are harassed and threatened, and baseless labeling of students and chapters as racists runs amok. Here's the incredible truth, though. We are not backing down. Turning Point USA has only just begun our impact on American education and culture, and we aren't going anywhere. This is your voice, your stories, your fight. Together, we are on the front lines.
Let's talk shop this chop and give a little real talk, period. And today is a good day because you're about to smash with MAGA Hulk. Hulk smash! Oh, yes, indeed. You know when it is. You know where it's at. You know what we do. You know how we do it. We tear down liberal ideologies one smash at a time. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about it. Let us see here. We're going to talk about fear. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm not talking about the good fear. I'm not talking about the fear of the Lord or the fear the Bible is talking about, when it comes to God and when it comes to Jesus and things of that nature. No, 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 no. I'm talking about the bad fear. The fear as described in this slide 1. Let's go and throw up slide 1. Yes, indeed. An unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by anticipation or awareness of danger. Yes, indeed, stranger danger. Let's go. Now, we're going to go ahead and look at some of the fear porn that the left tries to put onto the American people. I have to start with this. Let's talk about the fear of death, okay? I got to start with this. Nothing screams fear. Oh, nothing screams fear quite like going throw up slide 2. Oh, what do we have here? A death counter. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, CNN. We can always count on you to perpetuate fear. Goodness gracious. I mean, okay, look, when has this ever happened? When has this ever happened where you have a death counter to showcase to the American people how much you should be ensconced in fear? Goodness gracious. I mean, look at it. Most trusted name in news right here, CNN. Huh? And even look, did they do the death counter for the flu? Did they show the flu numbers every day, stoking the fires of fear? No. Did they do that with Ebola? No. Nope. But they make sure to do it with the Rona. Lord have mercy. I mean, and this is the type of thing that keeps people enslaved, right? And it's made in such a way to keep you enslaved, right? Just look at the report right here. Let's look at the report. It says U.S. reports 770 plus new deaths today. Total deaths top 3,700. Okay, so obviously this is early in the pandemic, right? So let's go on and put up slide 3. Let's go and throw on slide 3. Oh boy, look at we got here. Another death counter. Lovely. Wonderful CNN, always coming in clutch with a death counter. This one says, dire new models show opening too early will kill thousands. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you dare open up. Don't you dare open up. You are not supposed to do that. You're supposed to remain ensconced in fear. Stay in fear, live in fear. More fear porn, of course. And let's throw slide 4 while we're at it. All right, we're on the roll. Throw slide 4. Oh, yes, indeed. Look at this one. Look. As you can see, I'm picking on CNN. I can't stand CNN. Trusted name and news. Daggone, the Lord have mercy. Okay. Coronavirus spreads fear and transform life across America. Coronavirus spreads fear and transforms life across America. No. Actually, it's you that are spreading fear and transforming life across daggone America, right? With your ever-present fear porn that's being circulated on your site, on your news daily news coverage, showing a daggone death counter. Am I the only one that sees a problem with this? And I got to say this. Here's the thing. If you have to create fear to get people or to try to scare people into submission, then how bad is it really? How bad is the situation really? How bad are the circumstances really if you have to create fear, right? And remind you, and that's what it is. You're reminding people to stay in fear, right? You're reminding people, you're convincing people that things are bad, right? Because I don't know about you, but for me, if life is a living hell, then I will know it because I am living it. I shouldn't have to be reminded of my life being a living hell. But yet and still, that's what CNN did. That's what MSNBC did. That's what ABC and NBC, you go on down the line of legacy media, they made it a point They made it a point to keep you deeply ensconced in fear. Oh, they had you subscribing to the fear porn on a consistent, daggone basis. You shouldn't, goodness, let me just move on, because I'm going to get upset. I'm going to get upset. You're going to make me angry. We're not even at the don't make me angry segment. Anyways, there are other types of fear that the left tries to impose on us, though, and that fear that we impose on ourselves as well, given the current culture, right? So let's tackle some more of the other aspects of fear that the left tries to impose on the American people. Yes, indeed, the fear of getting hurt. The fear of wearing a MAGA hat. Oh, how dare you, you terrible, racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, transphobe, xenophobe, for wearing a MAGA hat. Oh, you've seen the footage, ladies and gentlemen. You've seen the constant footage of people being attacked, right? The castigation, the vitriol that was heaped upon people like me and people like you for donning the MAGA hat between the years of 2016 and 2020. Oh, they're still trying to vilify and disparage us to this day. Vilified. People like us were vilified. People like us were disparaged. People like us were torn down. People like us were hit, beat. We were beat up. We were shot. We were hospitalized. We were killed for wearing a Make America Great Again hat. Explain to me how that in any way should be happening in the freest nation on earth. A hat that says, Make America, the country you live in, Make America Great Again, but somehow that's racist. Oh, no, I got one even better. I got one even better. What about the All Lives Matter hat? Or the All Lives Matter apparel, the All Lives Matter flag? Vilified, disparaged, torn down, shouted down, attacked. I got one even better than that. What about the American flag hat? Or the American flag shirt? Or the American flag itself? Oh, yes, indeed. Oh, we were called everything for that. How dare you fly the American flag in America? What is wrong with you? This is the wrong place to be showcasing the symbol of our nation, apparently, so says the left. Oh, goodness gracious. I mean, you fly this flag in America. You know, I would go to these rallies, right? I would go to these rallies, these, Blue Lives Matter rallies, Make America Great Again rallies, things of this nature. And everyone there would be castigated as racist, white supremacists, neo-Nazis, race traitors, self-haters, coons, Uncle Toms. You go on down the line, we were called it. Why? Because we flew the symbol of our country. The symbol of our country. Since when was flying the symbol of our country a racist thing or a bad thing, right? What other symbol? Are we supposed to fly the communist flag of China? Is that what we're supposed to do? Apparently. As a matter of fact, look at this. Like this person so eloquently put it, go and throw up slide 5. Go and throw up slide 5. Oh, yes, indeed. These are the type of messages I receive on a consistent basis. Any man, says this person, any man that loves, quote unquote, loves America is literally scary to me. You're a coon. They had to throw that last part. They just had to throw that last part in. Goodness gracious, Lord have mercy. Oh, goodness. But let's go on. Let's go on to the fear of being canceled, because that is a legitimate fear as well. You have seen what's going on with this cancel culture, or should I say the leftist version of cancel culture. We know that it's nefarious. We know that it's terrible, and that cancel culture is not anything but a weapon, right? And it's how you wield this weapon. We on the right, we wield it in such a moralistic way to say, hey, these are the things that we're not going to allow in a moralistic society, right? We're not going to allow pedophilia, so we're going to cancel those who engage in pedophilia. We're not going to allow, we try not to allow abortion, so we try to cancel abortionists and things of this nature. This is how we go after them. This is how you wield the weapon of cancel culture. But then you have the left who pervert it and they just go after it and use it like a kid who picked up a gun, and a 9-year-old kid who has no idea what he's doing. And he's sitting there shooting off rounds with this gun. And this gun is cancel culture. So you have the left and they're just wielding it any old way, where if you speak out against transgenderism, which is, something that's tearing down the very fabric of society and reality, oh, you're canceled. You said anything wrong. I mean, a matter of fact, right now, what they're trying to do with Dave Chappelle, because he just came out with a new comedy special, and the left is very upset once again, and they want to cancel Dave Chappelle because he had the nerve, the audacity, and the gall to go after their sacred freaking cow. How dare he? How dare he speak the truth? It doesn't matter if it's the truth. It doesn't matter. It does not matter, because it goes against their narrative. And as long as it goes against their narrative, Houston, we have a problem. Goodness gracious. And it's the same thing. You'll get called a racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, transphobe, xenophobe for, saying such things, for going against the prevailing notions of the left. You will be doxxed. You will be canceled. You will be shouted down. And this is the really the one that's really bad. You've seen the videos of people getting shouted down in these restaurants or in these stores, right, for not wearing the mask. Right, you got the mask crusaders, the masketeers, if you will. They go around shouting at people, pointing people out on their phone, trying to dox people, trying to tear them down, trying to vilify them, and pointing them out. And it's funny because everyone is always like, "What is wrong with you? What, as a person, what is wrong with you if you're becoming unhinged because someone's not wearing their mask?" But again, it goes to the fear. Because fear has been perpetuated and the pot has been stirred in such a manner that you got these people who can't help but to feel so afraid and so deeply ensconced in fear that they can't help but to do this, because they've been listening to CNN and MSNBC. They've been seeing the death counter of CNN showcasing that you need to be deeply, deeply wrapped up in this fear and enveloped in this fear bubble. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, it's kind of bad. It's kind of bad, I must say. Oh, goodness. So let's move on. Let's go on to the topic of, when it comes to fear, like, because I had met this one woman. at the airport, and it was an interesting conversation. Actually, it was two different women I met, and the first woman, whenever I go to the airport, I'm always wearing some type of political gear. I'm always wearing some type of, American hat, American flag hat, or some type of patriotic this, that, or third, right? So I want people to understand what it is I stand for, what it is that I represent. I think it's important in this day and age for people to do that, right? You need, especially in this day and age, you need to stand up for your daggone country and let it be known. You'll stand up for your sports team, your favorite sports team, but let's stand up for America, huh? How about that for an idea? So when I go to the airport, I always wear some type of political this, that, the third, or always wear some type of patriotic this. And a particular lady, I was sitting at a bench charging my phone, and this particular lady came up and she said, I like your hat. And I was like, well, thank you. I was wearing a MAGA hat at the time. And we struck up a conversation about the state of things and how things are going in America right now with our current president and our current administration, and how they have been asleep at the daggone wheel. And it was really interesting because there's another lady that came and sat down next to us, and by no means were me and lady number one being quiet about the things that we have to say. All right, we were espousing some things and doing it very loud because we don't care. At the end of the day, we are standing up for our country. We are speaking truth, right? Verifiable facts, stats, and data, all right, is what we were doing. And if you have a problem with what it is that we have to say, you can pull up a chair and debate us. That's simple. That's a standing order for me. If you have a problem with what I have to say, then you can by all means debate me. So this lady number two came and sat down, and she was listening to the things that we were having to say. And you can tell she was of the right. I could tell immediately she was of the right because she was nodding her head to everything that we were saying. So I knew she was on board, right? I knew we were all on the same page. So eventually, lady number one leaves. And lady number two finally speaks up. She's like, wow, you guys are really outspoken when it comes to what's going on right now. I said, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, absolutely. 100% I am outspoken about what's going on in this current day and age. 100%. And she was, and it was so sad because her demeanor was that of someone that was very timid. And I can understand it. I mean, not everyone's hyperactive like me. I understand that. That's 100% okay. But, you know, she came off as very timid, and she said that what she said was really so sad. She said, I am a coward. I am a coward. I can never do what you guys just did. That really struck me. That struck a chord with me. Because for someone to finally speak up about what it is and be so descriptive as to call themselves a coward for not being able to speak up for that which she knows to be correct, that which she knows to be right. Oh, it just hit me. It really hit me as something very profound, if you will. And we started talking about that a little bit more. And I said, well, why do you feel this way? She says, well, I can never speak up about, speak, especially with her friends. She has a lot of liberalized friends. And she says she can never speak out about the things that she's seen because they're so liberalized. They would, some of these people have been friends for most of her life, right? Since after, she said, after high school and things of this nature. And, she was a little bit of an older woman. So, she was making a point that she can't imagine losing these people because these people would indeed leave her, right? They would leave her alone if she started espousing the things from the right because she has witnessed it happen to other people, right, in her circle. So we were talking about it a little bit more, and she was just letting it be known that she's not going to be able to have the courage to do so, to be able to speak out against what's going on, especially when it comes to her friends. So I said, well, is this something that you want to learn to do? And she says, no, not really. Not really. So you know what's right. You know what's correct. But you're so deeply ensconced in fear due to your friends, quote unquote friends, because in my opinion, I don't know, maybe I'm the only one, but daggone, in my opinion, if you're really a friend, you're going to be with me ride or die till the end, regardless of my political views, regardless of my moralistic views, regardless of my religious views, regardless of my whatever sports team I like, regardless of whatever it is, you're going to be my friend regardless. So the very fact that these people would dismiss her due to the fact of who she voted for, how much of a friend is that person really? So I need y'all to understand this. In this day and age, we cannot afford anymore to be silent. We cannot afford to be silent. We cannot afford to shut down and shut up because the left is trying to impose their fear and impose their will on us, on the American people. We cannot shut down. That is not acceptable in this day and age. There's too much at risk. There's too much at stake for us to sit down and shut up and be the silent majority. Why the heck, if we are the majority, are we daggone silent? If we are the majority, we need to be the loud majority. We need to be the boisterous majority. We need to be the magnificent majority. We need to stand up for the courage of our convictions and stand loud and proud about what it is that we espouse because we know we stand for truth, okay? So I need to get you to understand we need your support, right? We need it's all hands on deck at this point in time, okay? And when it comes to support, when it comes to the support roles, right? For those who are like, okay, I can't be on the front lines. I'm not meant to be, on the front lines. I want to be able to just support. Okay, that's fine, right? Because when it comes to politics, not everyone has to be public speakers. Not everyone has to be podcasters. Not everyone has to be outspoken proponents when it comes to politics, right? Some of us there's some people that are not built like that. That's fine, right? We need support roles. Just because you're a support role doesn't mean you're ineffective. You are very effective. Like, the TPUSA staff here, they make me look good. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be looking good. I wouldn't be being able to do what I do. I couldn't get the message out there. So it's due to our support staff that we're able to do what we do with people like Charlie Kirk, right? People like Candace Owens, people, you name the influencer, they have a support staff, and they have you all helping them and being there and propping them up and putting out their message that they're putting out to the American people. And it takes people like you to support us to get the message out to combat the left. That's the way it works, right? So don't think you're ineffective just because, oh, I'm just a support. You are essential to what we daggone do, right? So you can show your support in any number of ways. You can get out and vote. You can support your local and small business, especially in times like this. We got to support our local and small businesses right now, right? You can donate to conservative campaigns. You can help out behind the scenes. You can like, subscribe, share online work. I mean, you can do any number of things to showcase your support, right? Us on the right, we need your support. We need your help, right? Us on the front lines need to understand that the message that we're putting out is effective, okay? And we don't, goodness gracious, I'm not. I'm going to save that for later. I was going to go a different direction, but I'm going to save that for later. We're running out of time, so let me cut it down. But for those who want to be on the front lines, right? For those who want to be on the front lines but are a little bit fearful, they're a little bit reticent, I understand. I completely understand. I've been there, okay? I've been there. I've done it. I wear the daggone T-shirt every day, okay? I am fearful myself. But you need to understand this. You cannot have courage. You cannot have courage without fear. It is due to fear itself and you overcoming that fear that showcases the type of person that you really are, right? That you can stand in the midst of the storm and hold it down regardless. That's the beauty of courage, right? Courage. There can be no courage without fear. Courage is birthed from fear, right? When you rise up and stand up against your fear, that's true courage. So for me, I have embraced my fear. I have. I do so every day. When it comes to this daggone podcast, I am fearful when it comes to this daggone podcast because I fear that my message is not going to be crisp. I fear that you're not going to receive it well. I fear this. I fear that. I have so many things going on in my brain that it's all about pushing through that which is going on up here and pushing through for the cause. Because right now you cannot be fearful and shrink back and fall back because that's what the left wants from you at this point in time. They want you to fall back. They want you to shut down and shut up. That's what they want. They're expecting you to fall in line when it comes to the fear that they're imposing on you. They want you to. So it's up to us to defy that. You understand me? I am no Superman, ladies and gentlemen. I am no Superman. I am just like you and me, just like you, and I am the MAGA Hulk. Let me go ahead and say that. I am the Hulk that gone it. Yes, indeed, Hulk smash around here, but I am no Superman. Really. So I'm just another person just like you, standing on the courage of my convictions because I've been convicted to do so. Okay? So it is up to us. It is up to us to do so. It's up to us to stand up for what we know to be daggone right. Right? It's understandable if you feel the fear that just lets you know that you're human, right? We're all human. We're all going to be fearful from time to time. That's understandable, right? But at the end of the day, we got to understand this. Take solace in the fact that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound daggone mind. Ladies and gentlemen, whenever the fear grips you, understand that you are more than a conqueror, right? And you can do all things through Christ who gives us strength. I don't care what's going on in your life. I don't care what the left is trying to impose on you. I don't care what they're trying to make you do when it comes to succumbing to your fears. Strive to overcome them and tap into your courage, right? Tap into your courage that you have deep down inside of you and your belief in yourself. whether it's COVID-19, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's wearing patriotic apparel, whether it's speaking up and speaking out at these rallies or in front of your friends, right? Standing for what you know to be right. It's time for you to make a stand and discard the fear that's inside of you, right? We are more than conquerors. So hold on. Be tough. Stand up and stand out and stand together, right? There's strength in numbers. So band together with those who have a similar message as you and stand for what you know to be right and what you know to be right when it comes to our country, because at this point in time, our country is at the brink. You cannot be afraid. You cannot be ensconced in fear. You cannot let this country fall. So it's time to stand up. Anyways, enough of that, Dick. Enough of that. We're going to dive into a segment called Don't Make Me Angry, where we go over whatever memes, whatever tweets, whatever comments you have sent to my email inbox, which is at MAGA Hulk Smash at gmail.com. So let's get right into it and see whether you want to have me happy or angry today. Yes, indeed. Let's see what we got. First one. Oh, goodness, SpongeBob. I'm not a fan of SpongeBob, okay? And it's the crab person. I love the meme though. This is great. So it's a crab person, and it's two different pictures, and the crab is Pfizer. And there's an interviewer asking him a question and says, "What inspired you to take this booster shot?" And the crab says, "Money." Yes, indeed. That's exactly what's going on right now. Everything's being motivated by money, the almighty dollar. If you don't know that by now, ladies and gentlemen, I suggest you pay attention. Things are not arbitrarily pushed onto the American people just because the government is just so benevolent and they just love us. No. There's a whole lot of money being that's changing hands due to what's going on. So when they advocating for another booster shot, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I don't know. It just may be motivated by a little bit of green. Just saying. Goodness gracious. Let's go on to slide number 2. That's okay. This is good. Okay. So it's people in the dance. So people are dancing, and then you got that one Debbie Downer. You always got the Debbie Downer, the negative Nancy, the CD daggone C. And he's saying you're supposed to be wearing a mask, right? And the CDC guy has his mask on. He's scolding everybody. And the people dancing are saying, "Nobody cares, nerd." And shut up. Yes. Yes. Indeed. Nobody cares. Nobody cares anymore. We're tired of listening to you, mass crusaders, to you, you cultish-like people when it comes to this mask wearing, okay? You got these people double and triple masking. You got these people jumping into swimming pools with their mask on. You got people driving around their car with their mask on. You got people running outside, jogging outside, getting their exercise with their mask on. I remember I had this conversation with an ex-coworker of mine, and this guy, he would say that he was always, he would always go out and do his job. And I was just like, okay, well, that's fine. It's fantastic. But he's like, it's just hard to jog. I'm not motivated to do it anymore. First of all, let me go ahead and say this. He's an extreme leftist. Okay. But so he said, I'm not motivated, I'm not really motivated to do this anymore because whenever I wear my mask and I'm jogging outside, I just can't breathe. Like, I feel like I'm suffocating myself. No kidding. No, really? You're just now figuring this out? Maybe it's not a good idea to wear your daggone mask while you're running outside in the God's beautiful fresh air. Well, probably not as fresh as I would think because it is LA. LA doesn't really have fresh air. We don't believe in fresh air in LA. But regardless, you have your mask on. You're not able to expel the carbon dioxide at will like you're supposed to, like your body's trying to get rid of, and you just I'm not a scientist or anything like that. I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure that's not a good idea when you're getting lightheaded taking a jog with your daggone mask on. Nobody cares anymore. Take the mask off. Breathe God's fresh air. Lord have mercy. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, this was good. This was good. It has a Buzz Lightyear, right? And the caption reads, when you're taught to use sir and ma'am your entire childhood, and then it becomes impolite to assume gender. And he's like, years of the academy training wasted. I'm sorry. Because, for me, when I was growing up, my parents instilled in me that you call people sir and ma'am, right? You be polite. Sir and ma'am, everything. Everything is sir and ma'am, right? I'm going to adhere to that. And whatever your arbitrary reason of why you want to try to quote unquote change your gender and why you try to confuse the American people because you're confused, whatever arbitrary reason, I'm sorry, I'm going to call you what I think you are, right? It's just that simple. I'm not going to be that kind of person who's trying to tiptoe and with my language, I don't know what to call you. And I'm so sorry if I misgendered you. No, we're not doing that. You decided to take it upon yourself to go on this daggone journey. Doesn't mean everybody else has to abide by your rules, right? Because what they say is, I'm just living my truth. I'm just living my truth. Okay, well, let's go to the relativistic mentality that you have, right? Because that's what your vision is. It's relativism to you. Well, if that's the case, my truth begs to differ. So, sir, ma'am, based on what I believe, right? Because that's what it is. It's based on your truth and based on my truth. So my truth conflicts with your truth. So who is right? That's why I just rather stick to objective truth, not subjective. Lord have mercy. Don't even get me started on that. Let's go on to the daggone next one. Lord have mercy. We're actually doing pretty good. I'm not too angry right now. We're doing okay. We're doing okay. Let's see if I can get through these rest of these without tearing up this daggone studio. Let's go. Okay. The next one, Overlords Apologize, where we set simulation to 2015, right? And it has like a person in a lizard head. I don't know why it's in a lizard head, but Lord have mercy. It says, we just wanted to see what you would do, explains spokesman. I feel like this is indeed a simulation. I really do. What's going on right now is absolutely asinine, bat stuff crazy. Okay? It really is. Can we just rewind the clock a bit? Can we go back in time to where we had at least a little bit more common sense and sanity? Can we do that? Is that okay? Because what's going on right now is beyond me. Oh my goodness gracious, good God Almighty! This stuff is going on right now. Let's rewind the clock a little bit. Let's go back to 2000. Why don't we go back to the 2000 with Y2K? Let's go back to being scared about Y2K. Let's go back to that daggone Lord have mercy. Let's go on to the next. Okay. Last one. Amber Alert. It's an Amber Alert. Oh, that's good. So this one says Amber Alert, white male, 78 years old, wandering in D.C., thinks he is president. I tell you what, the internet is undefeated. The internet is forever and they are undefeated. Lord have mercy. You gotta love the internet. They always come through. Oh, this is perfect. There is indeed an interesting individual in the White House. Some interesting individual, geriatric, who loves ice cream. And he's wandering around the halls of the White House, going to these press conferences where he mumbles his way incoherently to the American people. And there's various news networks that run cover for him, as well as this interesting little redhead that does the same. And she makes up lies on the fly, which is actually quite impressive. And it's just weird. It's like, what is going on here? Why is this person there? Why, does he needs a home? We need to put this person in a home. He is wandering around D.C., wandering around. I mean, it's funny because he wanders around D.C., he wanders, to different places, but he never seems to make his way to the southern border. He wanders everywhere but the southern border. Interesting. Goodness daggone gracious. Can somebody get your boy? Get your daggone boy, okay? Someone call Jill and let her know where he's at. Dr. Jill, Lord have mercy. Oh, goodness gracious, great. Okay, let me just calm down. Because y'all are really trying to make me angry right now, and I don't appreciate it, daggone it. Anyways, we're out of time. We're going to end there because I don't want to tear up the studio. If we continue on this current path, talking about this current president and this current administration, I might tear something up, okay? So we're going to end at that. Thank God we're out of time. So I just want to thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to see more of me, you can find me at turningpointusa.com. You can find me at Turning Point USA on YouTube. You can find me at Real Talk Period Productions on YouTube. And you can also find me at Real MAGA Hulk on both Instagram and Twitter. And I just want to remind you before we close that God did not give you a spirit of fear, right? He gave you power, love, and a sound mind. Do not subscribe to the fear, ladies and gentlemen, but instead overcome it and defeat it with courage. Yes, indeed. So anyways, we will see you next week for more liberal ideological. I cannot speak today. What is wrong with me? Liberal ideological destruction. Yes, indeed. Until next time.
Hey everyone, it's Jon Root. Coming up next on TPUSA Live, watch the newest episode of Politics, where host Alex Clark will tell you all about Megan Fox flaunting it, body image, Vice President Kamala Harris's cringe space video, what reality star married into President Biden's family, and so much more pop culture without the propaganda. Next on Politics.
So a couple of my students found a flag on the counter. And one of them was like, whose Trump flag is this? And all the other students were like, who has a Trump flag? And I was like, why would someone who has this in their classroom have a Trump flag? And I look over here and I realize that they were talking about this.
We're in agreement, right? This absolutely never happened. Like, it never happened. TikTok is the land of make-believe stories so that people can go viral. She's also wearing a mask in an empty room, not because she's scared of getting sick, because she's trying to protect her identity once she gets caught for lying.
You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
Yes, I do. Megan Fox talks about her body insecurities. Everything about the White House keeps getting faker and faker, and now Vice President Kamala Harris has been caught using actors. Speaking of the White House, President Joe Biden went to a Real Housewife wedding, and Sports Recap is back with the Jon Gruden scandal. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Politics. To the rest of the world, Megan Fox is a sex symbol. But behind closed doors, she says she has insecurities about her body just like everybody else. She said, yeah, I have body dysmorphia. I have a lot of deep insecurities. We may look at somebody and think that person's so beautiful. Their life must be so easy. They most likely don't feel that way about themselves.
God, my hips are huge. Oh, please, I hate my calves. At least you guys can wear halters. I've got man shoulders.
I used to think there was just fat and skinny. Apparently, there's a lot of things that can be wrong on your body.
My hairline is so weird. My pores are huge. My nail beds suck. I have really bad breath in the morning. Ew.
Do you believe this despite the fact that she's not afraid to show skin and is always running to the cameras? Or is she hoping to trick people into thinking she's relatable because she's actually not at all? This is why I loathe the expression self-love. It's legit impossible. Nobody fully loves themselves, and it's a bottomless pit of despair, loneliness, and self-loathing to try to pursue it. Megan Fox doesn't even love herself. The idea of self-love is a money-making scheme, and it's an entire industry built to keep you buying bath bombs and books and listening to podcasts and attending seminars so that finally you can love yourself, only to need more self-help.
You're right, I know.
But the reality is you won't. And as Ali Stuckey said, you aren't enough. And that's okay. In fact, she wrote an entire book about it. We're not enough without Jesus and never will be. We are incapable of loving ourselves enough. We weren't designed to. And that's the conservative.
Amen.
The Truman Show administration, the Biden administration, keeps getting faker and faker. And the queen of clown world is also head of the Space Council. Nothing is sacred anymore, not even space.
What the hell are you talking about?
Did you see a bunch of hype about Vice President Kamala Harris doing a video with kids about space? The kids were so excited and she was trying to flex how likable and relatable she is.
I wonder who the head of the Space Council is.
Are you kidding? The head of the Space Council is the Vice President! She advises the kids to never let someone else tell them who they are. So does this apply to people who haven't gotten the Jabba juice but aren't actually anti-you-know-what? Nope, because she's fake. In fact, this whole thing was fake. Those are paid child actors.
I think we should have that conversation.
Recently, the vice president hired messaging specialists to help her improve her communication skills and ability to connect with Americans because absolutely no one likes her. Apparently, not even kids. I mean, the average American child doesn't speak cackle.
It was a debate.
While we're on this topic of conversation, you should know that even though the president and vice president don't have time to visit the border and deal with actual important issues plaguing our country, the president did make time to go to a Real Housewife wedding.
I'm just not ready for all of this. It's just...
Former Real Housewife of Orange County star Meghan King married Joe Biden's nephew, Cuff Owens. What's crazy is this relationship came together in the textbook definition of whirlwind romance. They met on a dating app, which I'm assuming is Raya, and texted for only a couple days. She said, "We then spent 5 straight hours on the phone the first time we spoke. By the time that call ended, Cuff was booked and packed for a flight to St. Louis that took off in about 8 hours. Within a week, we were back on the East Coast, meeting his family and starting to plan our future together. We didn't leave each other's side for weeks."
Nature wants you to go slow, and she's wrong, because it's the fastest who gets paid, and it's the fastest who gets laid. Oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
The president and first lady were in attendance for their wedding. Not sure if Hunter was. The only way to be sure is to check his cholesterol. That will be the telltale sign if he was snorting Parmesan cheese off the pasta or not. Sorry, but that Cuff guy is so not my cup of tea. I can't do long hair on guys. It's like he's trying to look like Jared Leto, which is such a low bar to begin with looks-wise. Plus, I'm 99% sure I've seen this dude pushing a grocery cart with empty soda cans in it on the street corner.
If you're homeless, just buy a house.
There's a new podcast for us to binge, besides the spillover, of course. It launched today and explores the connection between Victoria's Secret and Jeffrey Epstein.
Let's face it, most guys are from the dark ages. They're cavemen, and they like a woman to be showing her cleavage and to be wearing 8-inch heels and to be wearing see-through underpants. But for me, a woman looks best when she is just absolutely naked.
The podcast is called Fallen Angel and explores Epstein and Les Wexner's relationship, plus the inside story of Victoria's Secret by interviewing former models who were led down a dangerous path of eating disorders, poor health, depression, anxiety, and other issues, according to Page 6.
Are you ready for some football?
Another podcast that I'm about to start, SpongeBob Binge Pants. Yes, this is real, and they give behind-the-scenes details of every single SpongeBob episode.
SpongeBob
Hi, how are you?
This was unexpected, but we'll allow it. The CEO of Netflix says they have no plans to pull Dave Chappelle's new comedy special, The Closer, despite complaints from the trans community and even some of their employees. All these Kyles turned Karens have literally no sense of humor. Like, if you're gonna live out your true, authentic self, at least be able to laugh still. According to the New York Post, Ted Sarandos, I'm probably saying that wrong, but he's the company's co-CEO and chief content officer, said, as with our other talent, we work hard to support their creative freedom, even though this means there will always be content on Netflix some people believe is harmful. He said, several of you have also asked where we draw the line on hate. We don't allow titles on Netflix that are designed to incite hate or violence, and we don't believe The Closer crosses that line. Particularly in stand-up comedy, artistic freedom is obviously a very different standard of speech than we allow internally, as the goals are different. Entertaining people versus maintaining a respectful, productive workplace. La 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 la, I'm not listening. He also said that there will always be content on Netflix that not everyone likes, but his goal is for there to be something for everyone, and even mentioned cuties.
That's weird. That's weird. Kind of weirding me out.
Sports Recap is back this week because we need to discuss the Jon Gruden scandal. Raiders coach Jon Gruden has now resigned after an old email he wrote 10 years ago as an ESPN commentator was leaked that contained some questionable and insensitive comments about an African-American person. He was talking about NFL Players Association Executive Director DeMaurice Smith when he said that he had lips the size of Michelin tires.
That's not going to be good for business. That's not going to be good for anybody.
Here's the thing. Allegedly, he meant it to mean loose lips because he thought that this guy was a liar, not necessarily about his looks. Still, it didn't come off great. Did apologize, and then, it appeared that maybe he was just gonna move on from it. But Monday night, he announced that he was resigning as a coach for the NFL, even though multiple players, black and white, spoke publicly to defend him and said they've never seen him treat anyone in a racist manner.
It's over. It's just a memory.
It's incredible to me that Gruden is gone, and the Texas high school shooter, an African-American boy who shot 4 people, is out on bail, partying with friends and getting zero media coverage about it. I'm just making observations here. One more day to catch up on all the spillover episodes. A new one drops tomorrow at midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. Making these episodes for you all is truly a life passion of mine, and every time I record an episode, I can't wait to get it to all of you. Seriously, I am checking the numbers and reading the reviews like crazy. It's really competing now for my favorite child spot with politics. Like, who am I gonna choose? And before we say goodbye for today, be sure to heart this episode. Tell me, do you think self-love is truly possible? And also, how wild is this Jon Gruden stuff? Share this episode to your story. Ask people if they think self-love is achievable. And last but never ever least, tap that save button to support us. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. It's pop culture without the propaganda every single day. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Poplitics. Support Poplitics, the first ever conservative pop culture daily show, by subscribing to our channel, turning on notifications, and of course, hitting the thumbs up. Also, our main home is on Instagram. Seriously, just trust me, that's when the real magic happens. Follow us there at Poplitics.
What a great show today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, tune back in at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern to join us on the campus of Baylor University in Waco, Texas with Charlie Kirk on his Exposing Critical Racism tour. Amazingly, Baylor has become one of the most woke schools in the country, so definitely not an event you're going to want to miss.
Yeah, don't miss that. Once again, that is at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, Exposing Critical Racism tour. He's been all over the country so far, and this is the truth behind what's going on with CRT. You need to hear it from Charlie. He's going to break it down for you, give you all the tools in order to fight back against the indoctrination and everything going on in schools.
We'll see you soon.